Hello everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me. Happy Friday everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. Kicking off your weekend hanging out with me, obviously. If you guys can see my stream, give me a thumbs up and let me know that you're here. It's Friday, so we're going to be doing live readings on the channel. I missed you guys last week. I was traveling, but we're back and we're going to be doing live astrology readings. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome. Make sure you click the bell button below so you're subscribed. I'm a Western astrologer. I work both with tarot as well as astrology to better understand what's going on in the cosmos. And we're here every Friday and we alternate each week between tarot and astrology. So we're going to be doing astrology this week. We just had a new moon in Capricorn yesterday. We're still kind of feeling the energy of that. We're doing readings by donation. So you guys can get a reading by scanning this QR code right over here. It'll take you to my PayPal and the donation is $55 US for a reading. So if you have a question about an aspect in your natal chart, or maybe you have a question about timing, or just anything in regards to a transit, I am here to help you out. Make sure, please, in the memo box, put this information because it's important for me to have this. I need to have your personal information to cast your chart. If your name differs on PayPal versus on your YouTube, just let me know. Equally, I'm going to need your time, date, and location of birth. Please spell out the month if you can, because we have some international people. I'm here in the United States, so we kind of do the time a little bit differently for dates. Also, the time, AM or PM, and the city, country, state. And I can cast your chart. We're going to look at the charts live during the show today. You'll see half of the screen split with the people who are asking questions. We'll pull up the transits and take a look at what they've got going on. If you guys are interested, I also have personal one-on-one sessions. I teach astrology. I have several different courses actually that you can study at your own pace on my website. You can check out beyondtheveiltarot.com. Links are in the description if you would like to learn astrology with me. The beginner's course is everything you need to know about assessing a natal chart. It's over 18 hours of content and it's broken up over 7 different courses. And I have a level 2 to help teach you guys how to use transits and how to be able to work with transits to anticipate what's coming. So if you're a beginner astrologer and you just want to study it just because it's a hobby, or if you want to start your own practice, this is a great way to be able to learn. Just going to say hello to everybody in the chat. What's going on, guys? I see Coco's here, Jessica's here, Fiorella, hello, Emma, MK, DH is here. How are you guys doing? What's up, Deanna? She's going to cash in too. Hey, Sonia. We got so many people who are level 3 here. Happy New Year to everyone. Technically, this is the first live that we've done since the new year, unless you guys caught me for my New Year's Day webinar that I did on the astrology of 2024. If you guys have not seen that because it was like a re-release, go and check it out. I put out a over 4-hour video where I do a whole presentation and a slideshow on the astrology of 2024. I talk all about Pluto and Aquarius and Saturn's aspects and the other things that we're going to be seeing with eclipses, Jupiter changing signs, and I take it through the 12 rising signs and talk about very specifically what to watch for. So if you guys want that, check it out. Okay, so here's who I've got so far. I've got my level 3 subscribers. So those of you guys who are not aware, I've got memberships. So if you like my content, I'm a full-time content creator on YouTube. I'm putting out long-form, high-quality content where I'm not just talking to you guys about astrology, I'm teaching astrology and I'm connecting the dots to what's going on out in the world right now to help it make sense for everybody. And you guys can support me, first of all, by liking my content. If you give me a thumbs up or you comment on my videos, that helps the algorithm and it helps other people see what I'm doing. And then we've got level 2 where you're gonna get a shout out, and level 3 where you're gonna get a reading with me once a month on one of my lives. So if you're somebody who wants to be able to have a reoccurring appointment, but you wanna do something that's more cost effective, this is probably the best option for joining my memberships monthly for a flat fee. You're going to be able to get a reading with me once a month on one of these Fridays, and you can alternate between tarot and astrology. So consider doing that if you like my content, or you can consider donating. We always appreciate that. Thank you, DH. You guys saw it. I appreciate it. We've been doing it a couple years now. What's up, Blue Crystal Ann? Hey, Katie. Hi, Wonderful Enlightenment. How are you guys doing? Okay, so here's who we have first. These are the level 3 members. So we've got Coco, Jessica, Emma, MK, and Deanna. And then for who's in the queue, Sophia, Danielle, Matt, Sage Moon, and Fiorella. We'll leave the reading queue open for about half an hour or so you guys can watch for a little bit if you want to get in and get a reading. We've already got about 10 people, so it's going to be a minimum of at least about an hour before you get a reading. So if you know you want one, I recommend getting in on the action. Otherwise, you can just hang out in the chat as well. Grab a snack and a drink. How was your guys' New Year's? And how was that new moon in Capricorn? That was a good one. I'm really stoked to see how that one manifests. Obviously, that was the title of this video because this is the closest lunation we have. So if you don't know what your question is and you want to know more about this new moon and how it can help you, let me know. What's up, Paula? I'll add you to my list. And if you're new here, I'll kind of do a bit of a roll call. So I know people are going to get in and they're going to say, did you get my payment? Don't worry, about every 10 minutes or so, I'll update you guys and let you know who I've got. But we will take Coco, Jessica, and Emma first as a part of the level 3 memberships. So we've got Coco's chart here. I'll pull this up. Thanks, Coco. I got you. So she says, it's my lunar return. Tell me something good. I'm in the process of moving, but still looking for a place, and I have a new crush. General look of what's ahead with these changes relating to grounding and love. So she's referencing her lunar return. So her moon is actually in Capricorn. If you guys are new, the transits on the outer wheel, these are where the planets are currently. And this is Coco's chart. So she's a Pisces rising, and her sun is in Sagittarius and her moon is in Capricorn. Okay, so I throw the outer transits on the outer wheel, and this is what's kind of going on right now. And she's in her lunar return because the moon, just before the new moon in Capricorn, returned to Capricorn. So obviously with lunar returns, we can look at that chart. We can see what's kind of coming up for the next month. Coco, do you want me to look at the lunar return, or you just want me to look at the transits? Just let me know. If you want me to look at the lunar return, I just need to know what city you're currently in if you're not still in Chicago, because I base it off of the location of where you are at. So give me a heads up. But essentially, just looking at the new moon, which was around 21 degrees, it looks like it was at your moon-Venus midpoint. So the midpoint's right around 21 because you got Venus at 24. Obviously, Venus is going to be about romance, pleasure, money, resources, and security, right? That's a big topic with Venus in Capricorn. And your moon, which represents your emotional connections, your home, your family. The fact that you're having that lunar return on the midpoint and you're asking questions about both of these things makes perfect sense. So let's look at her lunar return. And so those of you guys who are new to learning about return charts, I really recommend casting your lunar return every month. All right. Because it can help you kind of start to learn a lot about like transits, believe it or not. Like you can use this for predictive methods to better understand kind of like what's coming. So the lunar return always returns back to the place where it was. Okay, so the moon's always going to return back to that 17 degrees of Capricorn. And she's got a new moon that was within range of the sun. So we've got the sun and the moon coming together, the conscious and the subconscious in the 4th house of home and family. And she says, hey, I'm looking for a new home. So it's kind of cool that the new moon in your 11th house could have been about goals. It could have been about what your goals are in regards to your future. It could have been conjunct Venus about, you know, your love goals. It could have been conjunct your moon, your goals revolving around homing. So from the lunar return that took place on the 10th until about 28 days later, the focus is going to be on house and home. And the fact that it was in a new moon kind of sequence indicates that she's planting new seeds about like where she's living. So wherever the moon is in the lunar chart is kind of showing you where the action is going to be. And the moon is the fastest moving body that we look at in astrology. So the moon being in the 4th house means she may be moving. Why else would I say that? Well, there's a lot of energy in the 3rd house, which indicates she's on the move. The ruler of this chart, which is Venus, is in the 3rd house. So this could be changing neighborhoods, changing cars, going on road trips, all of that stuff is possible. And the sun and the moon in conjunction are actually in a trine with Uranus. Okay, so Uranus in the 8th house of sudden change of fortune and resources and the help or the support maybe that you get from other like people. It makes me wonder if there's some like support that comes in financially, or there's some support maybe that comes in from a friend or somebody who can kind of give you like a tip about relocating or finding a new home. Generally, when I see like a new moon happen during a lunar return, I'll also let the clients know that you want to see this unfold over a period of about 6 months' time when this eventually becomes a full moon, because you could see some of those themes really coming to completion. So while you may move in the next month or so, it'll take about 5 or 6 months to really maybe completely get unpacked, get settled, fully decorate your space, you know, feel kind of grounded and secure, especially with the sign of Capricorn. I also really like that Venus in the 3rd house is trining the North Node. Now I mentioned Venus because this is a Libra rising chart, which is about relationships. And Venus in the 3rd house is saying, well, you're finding relationships through communicating, chatting, connecting, getting to know your neighbors, hanging out with siblings, maybe meeting with people locally. So if you want to meet people, you got to kind of either travel, get active, or be focusing on communication. Mercury is here as well. I will tell you that probably one of the biggest themes that kind of piques my interest is that you have all of this energy in the 3rd house, which is about movement, but it's coming into a square with like Saturn and also Neptune, which is connected to the whole sign 6. So it's like want to move, but having, you know, scheduling issues, or, you know, maybe you're experiencing setbacks or delays, or maybe you're going and you're looking at places and you're like, okay, I'm having to kind of squeeze this into like also like working, and there is some sense of pressure with timing. I only say this because I'm a Libra rising. I had these transits in the last month, and there is definitely like unexpected travel and things that kind of came up with the planets in the 3rd house that were affecting my work schedule, you know, in the 6th. So the 6th house can also be about support. So I also think that this can be about like finding the right people. Like 6th house can mean that maybe you're getting support from coworkers. Maybe you're changing your work schedule to make it possible for you to go and look at a rental. Maybe there is some kind of shift revolving around being like, hey, I'm not necessarily going to rely on what I can find online. Maybe I'm going to go and talk to like a real estate agent or somebody who's got a listing of houses that you might be able to kind of look at. So remember, Venus in the 3rd is saying, when in doubt, reach out, connect with people, talk to people, call them, text them, follow up with them. That's going to help you. And I do anticipate, because Saturn rules your home, and you've got some nice aspects between Saturn and Jupiter, that home and relationship stuff can actually really start to kind of get on track. I think you have a lot of support from other people this month because you've got Mars in the 3rd house. That's also trining Jupiter. But that can also mean that if you need to move, or if there's some change kind of going on with your home or your family, siblings might kind of help you as well. Coco says, of course it's in the 4th. Yeah, so travel. There you go. Traveling to see my sister. I just told her today. Yes, because I'm moving for sure. Next, just no text step. Okay, staying with a friend. Crush offered a potential rental. So crushes, or people who you're romantically interested in, would be the 5th house, and the sextile to Jupiter. And also the sextile to Mars is kind of like help from siblings, help from other people. Once again, Venus, for me, it's Venus trying the North Node. Other people can kind of help you through this time. If you were to look at the next lunar return, you would probably see that there is going to be some solution revolving around the living situation, I would assume. And the moon's conjunct Venus. So you'll probably, I would assume, move, but I think you're going to move to a place that's going to be in a different neighborhood or somewhere that might be a little bit further away than you think. But Venus trine the ascendant next month looks like you might get a little bit better settled, in my opinion. And also the moon is going to square the nodes. So you're feeling like in February you have to make a decision. So I definitely think that's going to happen. You know, in terms of the relationship stuff, I would just say, with Mercury and Venus and Mars in the 3rd house trine the 7th, you're having to travel or go back and forth to see somebody, or you're having to communicate and kind of find ways to be able to merge your schedules. So it's possible for you guys to come together. I don't know if you saw my new moon report, but this new moon in Capricorn has squared the nodes by 20 degrees. So it says, well, change is inevitable. This change has to come. It's something that needs to happen. It is a Scorpio degree. So you're really facing changes emotionally, home-wise, with family. And maybe some of these changes are difficult because Pluto's involved. Maybe it requires a lot of effort because it's in Capricorn, so it's a Saturn-based sign. And it's squaring your North Node in the 7th house, which means it's basically saying it's pushing you into having to relate to other people. But also, the sign of Aries is about the self. So it's basically taking a much more, I think, like action-oriented kind of step forward in, asking people for help. It can be about having a better relationship with yourself, learning to be open to sudden shifts when it comes to what your home looks like, and being flexible with those trines to Uranus as some of these changes start to kind of manifest. But yeah, it looks like a pretty good month, to be honest with you. The only thing that I would say to watch for is timing and scheduling, or some delays that may come here with Mercury kind of squaring off with Neptune. Some unforeseen or unexpected travel. Could be a surprise. I don't know if you're trying to surprise your sister and then you're like, I got to tell her. Or there was some, unexpected kind of maneuvering with your schedule to facilitate being able to travel. But good luck with being able to find a new home. It looks like whatever you're setting up, change is going to definitely be really good. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Coco. Thanks for being a member. We've got Jessica, Emma, and then MK. What's up? David is here. All right, so Jessica, let me pull your question. Jessica says, cashing in general reading for the new moon. I have a job interview Monday and I wasn't trained properly. Stressing out. Okay. Well, good luck on the job interview, first and foremost. So you've got the job interview on Monday. So today is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So where's Mercury? So Mercury rules your career, and you've got Mercury that's in Capricorn, conjunct Mars. So there's a very can-do, get the job done, I'm capable type of vibe. I've said to you before, you have all this Capricorn, which is intercepted in your second. So it's kind of like a blind spot for you. But the second house I see is capability or skill. So I feel like with Mercury being conjunct your Mars, Mars is your chart ruler. So you're like, I'm putting my mind to it. And Mercury is going to be in a trine with Jupiter. And you're going to see that trine for several days' time. So there's like a sense of like being able to wing it, but at the same time being like, okay, I'm going to still continue the process of realizing or recognizing like what I need to improve on. The second half of January is so good for being able to develop new skills, for kind of, making moves professionally. There's a lot of support between Mercury and Jupiter. So I feel like that's positive for you. I think if we were to look at this from like the whole sign perspective, part of this is also you have planets that are going to start coming into conjunction with your sun. This is going to be like in the next month or so, which still makes me feel like you're going to be learning new skills or learning new systems. This will be closer to February. So from like your birthday through, let's say, mid-March, as all of these planets, Mercury, Sun, Mars, everything comes into conjunction with your Sun and Pluto. And to me, it looks like it might require new software, communication skills, and having to like relay some kind of like information. But work-wise in general, because Mercury is your Placidus 10th house ruler, and you're going to see Jupiter come into conjunction with Mercury, you're going to see, other planets that are going to activate the trines to Uranus. It's like, I do think that a job change or a shift is likely. I think that also because Jupiter is going to conjunct Uranus in your 6th house. So work is coming. I would say it's about being optimistic about what you can do and not being too focused on what you don't know. and being proactive with being like, if I don't know something, I'm using this interview process as an opportunity to be like, what do I need to be strengthening, right? That's what Mars is all about. I think about also like the Mercury retrograde that stopped short of your natal Mercury Venus. And Mercury is going to come out of shadow in this next week. But Mars will conjunct Mercury, which makes me feel like you're growing in your profession. That's going to be right around the first week of February. So if you can see this conjunction, Mercury and Mars will align, and it's right on your Venus. So I feel like, you know, it's kind of like fake it till you make it. I mean, I hate to say that, but like, it's kind of like, okay, this is where we're going. You know, we got to kind of figure it out as we go. And communication is going to be really important. Taking notes is going to be really important. And being able to like document and write things down, right? Because Capricorn is about making sure that you're following like procedures or protocols. It's about like, you know, following the rules. So I would recommend really making sure that you have like physical copies of things that you can kind of be like looking at, right? I got you, Deanna. And in relationship stuff, you know, Mars and Venus coming into conjunction is really nice as well. Second house is good for money, but good for relationships. I just think that you're going to want to start to see when Jupiter's trining your Venus. When Jupiter's trining your Venus, you're going to see a lot more going on with relationships, I think, because that's your 7th house lord. So you'll see more of that closer to like right around end of April. And then Jupiter's going to go into your 7th house, and that's going to be in June. The funny thing is that it's going to square your Aquarius placements. So when you have planets that are coming to mid degrees of Taurus and it's squaring your nodes, it's like there's going to be people who are going to come in that you're going to meet that are going to try to get you out of the past or get you out of the house or get you to kind of, you know, want to go and have some adventure or something. That's what Jupiter in the 7th will do. And getting you out of your comfort zone, and it's all going to be trining your 2nd house. So it's really good for money, really good for self-esteem, and bringing you lots of opportunity. Also, I think to be a lot more mobile. But you need to see outer planets making aspects to your 7th house lord. So when you start having those trines in the, you know, early spring, that's when you're going to see stuff kind of pop up. And you've got an eclipse coming that I go back and forth. You guys have seen me do these mental gymnastics about whole sign and Placidus, because I think by transit in a natal chart, I like using Placidus, but I think about how, you know, the eclipse that's coming in, where is it? I'm looking for the eclipses. You have an eclipse that's going to come in that's going to be in your 5th house, Placidus, of romance. And that is going to square your Venus. So an eclipse square Venus is like somebody who comes in maybe unexpectedly that takes you by surprise. That could be younger, can be athletic. They could be somebody who, you know, is like very assertive. So an eclipse square your Venus, then you're going to have a Mercury retrograde there, and then Mars is going to show up. That's another indication that more or less like April through June, there's going to be some fireworks that are going to be kind of taking place. So adventurous lover, mobile job would be ideal. Well, it's very possible with some of these transits, especially Pluto is entering into your 3rd house this year. So that can definitely kind of put you more in a mobile sense or working remotely. That's very possible. It could also bring opportunities for moving and movement and changes with vehicles. But yeah, hopefully that's helpful for you. All right, so who else do we have? We have Emma and then MK. Pull up Emma's chart. Let's see. I think I saw her up here. Let's see. Thank you guys for your patience. Got to scroll through these sometimes. Emma says, hey Candace, cashing in for my monthly. How can I work best with the current new moon energies? Well, let's look. All right, so that was on the 11th. So Emma experienced this new moon as a Capricorn rising in her 1st house, and it's very much in her 1st house, Placidus and whole sign. What I probably am most interested in is that, well, there's two things. One is that this new moon was in your first house. So it's seen as like a fresh start or as a clean slate. So if you're wanting to set new intentions, new goals for yourself, for your body, for you personally, this is the time to do it. I really loved this new moon. I liked the fact that we saw a really strong trine to Uranus, which inspired us to create change, to think about things differently, or to kind of flip things on their head if it's not necessarily working for us in a positive way. So this trine to your 5th house transit of Uranus is like, okay, what are you most passionate about? Like, where can you take a risk? Where can you focus more on creativity, on fun, on self-expression, on hobbies, on love, right? What do you love? And then 2, this new moon also featured a sextile between Mars and Capricorn, which is particularly strong, very focused on accomplishing a goal, in a sextile to Saturn. So we have action, drive, and motivation working in harmony with commitment and like something that we're really serious about. Well, Mars was smack dab on your ascendant when we had the new moon, which means it's giving you basically 6 months of like an extra push, or maybe a little bit more fire, or a little bit more willingness to kind of get up and go after what you want. Out of 5, which is about, once again, 5th house, passions, right? What you want to enjoy the most, how you can have more playtime, more creativity, more love, more romance. So that's wonderful. And we also had Saturn, which is the ruler of this moon, smack dab on top of your natal Venus, which is about what you love. So, you know, Saturn-Venus transits, obviously not the easiest, but you're wrapping this up right now. Saturn's going to start moving away from your Venus. So you're going to feel like all the karmic lessons that you've had with women or romantic relationships, or maybe even like, you know, communication is finally completing. So I love this moon for you, with Saturn being in the 3rd house, of like making a list of all of the things that you're planning on achieving. Out of 4, it can be goals relating to your home. It can be goals relating to your family. This can be about committing more to, you know, listening to your emotions. It could be prompting you to be focusing on the things that you love and talking about these things more and having more appreciation for the beauty in life. And really using that as kind of like the fuel to inspire you to want to participate more in, you know, creative endeavors or dating. 5th house trines. Also, something else that I noticed is that at the time of this particular new moon, in your 1st house, it was square the north and the south node. Okay. Which basically means that you may have felt with this new moon that you were like, okay, there's something I have to change, right? It's at a 20, so it's about transformation. And the change that I'm hoping to see, it starts with me. I'm the one who's like in the driver's seat. I make decisions about what direction this is going to be going in. So I'm wondering, you know, where maybe you were feeling this pressure to evolve. Now, down the road, we're going to see in a couple of weeks, Mars will hit 20 degrees with Mercury. Okay, so this is going to be at the end of January. So when Mercury is hovering, you know, January 29th, 30th into February 1st, Mars is reactivating this new moon. So right now you may still be kind of like in that mode where you're like, okay, well, what am I most passionate about? What am I initiating? What do I want to do? It could be very physical too at the 1st house. It could be new physical activities or fitness related things. It doesn't have to necessarily just be about personal goals. But you may find that at the end of January, beginning of February, instinctually you're like, okay, it's go time. Like now I'm gonna, you know, start the process. Part of that will also be the pressure with Mercury and Mars squaring the nodes here as well. And for a Capricorn rising, you're going to hear it's about, you know, taking the initiative to start creating your own home base, your own safe space, to be going home, building a home, dealing more with family, and feeling kind of like, okay, it's me against the world. If you have to go out and do some of these things on your own, you will. And so pay attention to like the last week of January, because there's going to be some stuff coming up for you where you're like, okay, if nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. And a lot of it deals with clearing out the past, making decisions about where you're living and your relationship with relatives. But when we look down the road, as I've said in other videos, this will become a full moon 2 times over. So we will have 2 full moons in Capricorn in 2024. We're going to have the first one, which is going to be at 1 degree, and that'll be on the right around the summer solstice. And then we're going to have a second full moon, which is going to be on July 21st at 29 degrees. Okay, so it's reiterating for everybody collectively, but Capricorn placements especially, like, okay, how far have you come and what do I still need to complete? What do I still need to change? All the while Saturn is hanging out on your IC. So whether you look at it from whole sign standards where there's eclipses in your 4th house and you're having to figure out some kind of home matter, or Placidus and Saturn's on your IC, you know, you may be reflecting on your past, reconnecting with relatives, learning about your legacy or your lineage, and you know, doing some kind of family like research or having to return home and be around a relative. So both are kind of mirroring the same thing. So I'm wondering, is there like some home stuff that's coming up that you may need to be dealing with? And you know, the 1st house is also where we are, right? It's like rising represents like where we're getting up in the morning, and where we're actually living. So it might mean that there is something new that's evolving in regards to not just you and your appearance, but potentially like where you live, right? So I would really say focus on, with this new moon, trying to put all of your intention into what you can accomplish. Be mindful of your words. They create your own reality. And I think it's going to be really positive having Saturn, your chart ruler, conjunct Venus, because it could bring you better health. It could bring you more romantic opportunities. It could bring you some new hobby that you're like really in love with, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you, Emma. Let me know. What's up, Still Ripples? I got you. I'll add you to my list. Okay, so we have MK and then Deanna and then Paula. All right, and we've got MK here. Let's see. There we go. I like to cash in on my monthly. I experience a lot of anxiety and depression. How can I support my mental health and spiritual health during these 12th house transits in Capricorn? I've got you. All right, so for you, MK, let's look at your chart first to better understand what you got going on with this stuff. So obviously you have a pretty strong Saturn signature, being Aquarius rising, and you've got a number of outer planets that are connected to your 12th house. And so the 12th house can be about, you know, seclusion, privacy, you know, needing your own space. And Neptune and Uranus are in your 12th house, which means sometimes, you know, you feel like, you know, things can be stressful, or maybe you're really empathic and you get overwhelmed with like kind of absorbing things from like the collective, if that makes sense. So in terms of stress, or I guess anxiety and depression, you know, really strong Saturn signatures I have seen can bring that, because Saturn does represent like a low point. I think that for you, I see 2 sides. On one hand, I see all of this Aquarius, and it can feel like overwhelming in that sometimes you need to keep to yourself. I also see Mercury, which is the mind, in conjunction with Chiron, and that can represent a feeling of needing your space from other people, or not feeling understood, or sometimes having some communication issues. And this does square, you know, your Uranus and your Jupiters, especially Jupiter. So you're even more so like that's heightened. Some of those feelings can be even heightened. Really the key here, I think, with 12th house placements is knowing that sometimes you have to take time to kind of be alone. I don't know what you know about astrology, but in recent years, the last few years, you have had Pluto in conjunction with your Neptune. And so that's this feeling of being like, okay, all of the heavy stuff that comes up for you emotionally, spiritually, or psychologically, you know, that makes you feel like you need to be alone. And once again, in Capricorn, it can definitely touch on issues with depression. One thing I would say is that the trines to your moon, which is technically in your 7th house, so it can be about partnerships, it can be about counselors, it can be about therapists, it can also be about your astrologer. Having somebody that you can communicate and talk to and relate to, especially in a healthy manner, right, Virgo, is really helpful. Even though these are difficult aspects to have, we want to work with the trines to be able to transmute that. And especially with your moon at a 24, that's something that's very psychic, that's very spiritual. So I don't know if you're like, oh, I feel like I like talking to a therapist, or I like talking to an astrologer, or I like getting my cards read, but like that can help. I'm not saying that's the solution, but that can help. Having somebody who can kind of reflect back to you and give you insight on things to help you make sense of stuff. Dream interpretation also might be an interest of yours, or meditation or hypnosis, because you've got that 12th house energy, which is very Piscean, and then your moon is at a 24. So I wonder, like, could hypnosis or meditation help you manage some of these energies better? Possibly. It's worth looking into. On the other hand, you know, you have Jupiter on the ascendant. And usually when I see Jupiter on the ascendant, you know, this can be somebody who's like very jovial and like happy-go-lucky, and they're kind of funny. And there's like this kind of like comedic sense to them. So I don't think that everybody always sees that of you, that you're kind of maybe struggling with anxiety in the background. I think people kind of see you as somebody who's very funny and kind of witty, and maybe with the Sun, Mercury, Chiron, a little pessimistic sometimes, but like in a funny way. But what I would say is that you want to watch for like being too hard on yourself or making fun of yourself, because with the Jupiter square Sun, you know, Mercury, Chiron, like there can be a sense of like taking jabs at yourself. But really it's like, that's not helping you, right? That can like make things more difficult. Secondly, you've got Pluto on your midheaven, right on your MC. So that can also be somebody who is very intense. So seeing that you've got Jupiter, you've got Pluto here and you've got Jupiter here, it seems like there can be a sense of going back and forth between being like really intense and sometimes needing your privacy, and then times where you're showing another side of yourself. So there is like a sense of there being a bit of a swing there. For me, I think the key is like finding the middle place, right? And I think that, you know, what can be helpful that you have that's kind of in between these two placements is you have all this like Sagittarius, which is generally pretty positive and pretty optimistic. Technically, this would be in your whole sign 11th house, which means like having that balance of knowing when to go out there and be social, and like being around a group of people who can kind of help you feel included, and knowing when it's like time to kind of like leave the party. MK says, Pluto in the 12th has intensified my mental health struggles. I have really harsh inner dialogue. Yeah. Part of that is also, you know, you've got Pluto now that's creeping up on your natal Uranus. And, you know, I personally have never met anybody that has Neptune and Uranus in the 12th house that does not struggle in some way, shape, or form with mental health. And a lot of it is just because of the empathicness that comes with the 12th house of absorbing other people's stuff. With the Sun square Uranus, as Pluto is getting closer and closer to Uranus, it's going to start squaring your Sun, which means what it's trying to get you to do is recognize that some ways of isolating or resisting change or what have you is actually keeping you further away from other people. And on top of that, you know, your Sun Chiron square Uranus is an indication that you have a tendency to want to avoid maybe feeling cast out or pushed aside or kind of like the oddball. So it's like easier to just kind of like hide. But in that process with Neptune and Uranus, like that can actually have a really difficult impact on your mental health. So it's about, once again, finding the middle ground. There's a lot of other stuff going on here. You know, Saturn's coming into contact with your South Node this year. You're going to see where it's not beneficial for you physically or financially to kind of separate yourself from other people. Neptune's been in opposition to your moon, so there's been a lot of questioning who you can relate to. As somebody who's had all of the Pluto transits that you're currently going through, so I get it. You know, I say the kids, the people in the mid to late 90s are now going through the Pluto transits that all of the millennials have gone through. Pluto can sometimes show you the darker side of that planetary aspect. So Neptune would be, okay, where I really am self-isolating or indulging or medicating or sleeping. When it hits Uranus, it's going to be like, okay, I'm getting sick of my own stuff, because Uranus is your modern day ruler. It'll square your sun, and it's going to kind of push you out of your comfort zone, out of your hiding zone. Whenever I see somebody who's got a ton of Aquarius or Capricorn placements, I always tell them, like, you want to watch depressants. You know, are you drinking? Are you smoking? Are you using drugs recreationally? Because these things can negatively impact you. In particular, Neptune in the 12th house can be where you're not getting enough sunlight. It can also be where you're hiding in your room, you're having too much screen time. Things that seem like common stuff, but like, you know, for a chart like this, it might be the things that you lean into because that's what's giving you comfort, or that's what you have a tendency to do when you're by yourself, but it's actually like not helping you, right? I would also say, like, I have a whole list, and I think I sent this to somebody else. I think I sent it to Coco or someone else, but I have a whole list of like herbs and other minerals and stuff that's really good for like Capricorn and Aquarius placements, Saturn placements. Shoot me an email. You can email me. My it's candice@beyondtheveiledtarot.com. I'll send you that list, and it's like a whole bunch of supplements and things that you can take. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I can't give you medical advice, but I know the connection between some of the herbal treatments and charts. And I myself have a ton of Capricorn and Aquarius placements, and like I find that taking some of these supplements is really helpful because Capricorn or Aquarius Saturn-based placements can definitely deal with having lower moods, and so balancing that out through like vitamins and minerals can be like really helpful in like coming out of that hole. But I would really watch, like, it sounds silly, but oh, you didn't get it. Okay, somebody asked me for it, so if you guys want, just email me. I'll send it to you. But definitely, you know, watch. It sounds silly. Watch your screen time. Especially as I'm seeing like Saturn is going to start coming into an opposition with your moon, and it's going to square planets in your 10th house. It's going to be like things that you're doing that can be self-sabotaging, that's keeping you from relationships, and also it's keeping you from productivity at work, right? And I think that new moon that you just had in the 12th house is really reflective. It's like, well, what am I doing that, you know, like when is it time to take time away and when is it time to move forward? The next full moon that we're going to have is going to be right along your 7th house, and it's going to ding all of your stuff. So it is going to start pushing you. And what I would start learning about, honestly, is your natal sun square Uranus. Because with a chart like this, there is a lot of visibility, but you may like not want to be seen. That's kind of like the vibe that I'm getting here. Maybe it's the anxiety revolving around that. But having some kind of coach, mentor, therapist, you know, somebody that you talk to who you can relate to, I think is the way out with that moon trine Neptune. Maybe find like a hypnotherapist that does like tapes or something that you can listen to before you go to sleep that can help you better manage anxiety, which will calm your nervous system down before going to sleep with those planets in your 12th house. Screen time is what it'll do you in with this chart, as much as I hate to say it, especially with that south node in Pisces, and then you got Neptune in the 12th. Good luck. Hopefully that's helpful. What's up, Chiron? I'll add you in here. So we have Deanna, Paula, and Ripples. Thank you guys for your patience. We called last call already. So if we didn't get you, hopefully we get you soon. We're here every Friday. Where is Deanna? There we go. Are you still here, Deanna, or did you have to leave? Let's see. Cashing in, general reading, life is good. Irishman is here for 2 weeks. I'm going back to Ireland in March. Collaborations have been great. Love it. Love it. Oh, she's here. Okay. All right. So we've got Well, happy belated, first of all. You just had your birthday. What's going on with the sun? So I think probably what stands out the most to me, other than the fact that Mercury was stationing like right along your Venus, and it's going to return to your Venus, is it's going to be bigger decisions that are being made about work and your work schedule and what is and is not worth your time. So something like that I think is kind of setting up where you're like, okay, I'm getting my schedule in order and figuring out where I'm working and when I'm working and like what's going to be like the most productive, especially money wise. So Mercury coming in conjunction with Venus and your sun, I think is going to be like really getting things kind of set up and really starting to plan your year out, especially looking at what you're going to be doing closer to April, May. Because as planets come into your 6th house, I think that you're kind of full steam ahead between now and March. And you're like, I have a lot of work to get done. Not because you're going to be traveling, but because you've got Mars and you've got Mercury going through your 6th house. So it's like you have a packed 6th house all the way literally until about the 3rd week of February. And then as it goes into Mars, as it goes into Pisces, planets are coming into your 7th house, which is going to be more about relationships, right? Gotcha. And then what else do you have going on? Oh, that's what I wanted to say. The sun's Jupiter's coming into a trine with your sun. Okay. So Jupiter got up to how many degrees this year? I guess it did hit. Okay. So it went to about 15 degrees. So I want you to think about what was happening like July through October. I know that's a big like time frame, but Jupiter was at the top part of your chart expanding on the future of where you're going with your career stuff. And it was starting to show you how things are evolving in a much more global way, or maybe you're going to be teaching or you're going to be writing or, publishing something. And Jupiter was trining your sun. So now Jupiter has gone direct and it's coming back into that trine again. So you're going to start seeing Jupiter come into a trine with your sun around mid-February. And then mid-February through about March is the trine. So I would say as soon as... Oh, sorry, I saw a glitch here. As soon as we see the sun start coming into your 10th house, the second half of April, you're getting some more work done. Does that make sense? Did I lose you guys? Hello? Lost the live. Yep. Weird, I'm not seeing it. Hold on, let me see. Am I here? Okay, maybe I am here. All right. To me, it looks like the whole thing shut down. Okay, sorry guys. So yeah, basically it looks like there's planning about something that's going to be emerging for you in May. Okay. Everybody's like, you're here. Okay, sorry, I thought we lost it. I was like, what's going on? Mercury. Like what else? What else do you got going on here? And then you are now 46, so you're in a Mercury year, which is going to be your 11th house, which is about groups. So that's important then. So Mercury coming into contact with your Venus looks like it's going to be about forging relationships moving forward with people. Could be clients. And that's going to be around the 19th. And then we're going to see this again, especially in terms of like long-term commitments with people you're working with or relationships at the end of February. But I think some of the best news in terms of some of your professional stuff is going to be coming in the spring. So when Mercury gets out of its retrograde, it comes into Taurus. And then it's going to come into conjunction with Uranus and Jupiter. So I don't know what you've got planned. Oh, there we go. Sorry guys, my video is going in and out. So if you guys can see me, that's great. But for some reason, mine is acting up. Did I lose you? Are you still here, Deanna? I'm wondering what this is that you have planned here in June. Are you like setting up like a group that you're going to be working with? Or are you going to do some remote work with people? Just building the brand, tarot and astrology. Okay, cool. So my advice is, because you're coming into the year that's going to be not only your 11th house year, but that's where your Jupiter is. This is going to be a time where you're starting your following. So like maybe have 2 channels or have like 2 different forms of media. That way you're kind of covered. And maybe it's like you have content that's free, and then you have stuff that's like, you know, subscribers can subscribe to for like a, you know, a monthly subscription. But you'll start to see this come together in June, basically. And hopefully that's helpful. But yeah, you're gonna see the most about April through June. That's when that's gonna start to pick up. Keep us updated, especially the next 2 months. It looks like you're working your butt off before you get ready to go on your trip. So you're gonna be quite busy. Hopefully that's helpful. Let's see, I've got Paula. What's up, Paula? Are you here? Paula. And then we've got Ripples and Chiron after that. You're welcome. Hopefully we see you next week, Tyler. What's up, Paula? Hey, you would like to know how the new moon benefits me. Let's do it. Let's see. There we go. I'm going to close my app out really quick, you guys. I will be right back. Something's going on with my YouTube. I know this is the Mercury shadow. I can feel it. Let's see. There we go. All right. So Paula's asking questions about the new moon in Capricorn, which she's doing in the 8th house because she's a Gemini rising. So I like this for you, Paula. There are some very, very nice aspects with this new moon for you. So the new moon in the 8th house gives you an opportunity to go deeper into something, okay? To have more access to other people's resources, to change or transform something, especially pertaining to your career, tax-related matters, investment-related matters, money matters between you and a partner. But this particular new moon was in a trine, not only to Uranus in your 12th house, which could potentially be about listening to your dreams or your intuition, but also to your natal Saturn. So this is really great for like long-term planning. Yeah, I have 1,000 apps open. This is good for long-term planning. And this is also really good because the sextile to Neptune for investing in new business opportunities, or like looking at banking, loans, investing time, right? It could be that as well. And then you also got a trine down here. And it was trining Juno, but Juno's in your 4th house. So it looks like there's a lot of talking with a partner about future changes in regards to resources and the home. And Earth trines provide physical change. And this particular new moon is going to evolve over time. So it's going to, over the summer, we're going to see 2 full moons that will be ruled by Saturn. And Saturn is going to continue to be in your whole sign 10th, but it's still kind of hanging out in your 9th. So it's like, do you need to complete a program to make changes in regards to your career? Are you connecting more with your belief system in your faith, and are you letting that lead the way in your life? Are you working more with a teacher or a counselor or a mentor? And Mercury's been, doing its thing. It's been going back and forth over your Mercury. So for you to have Mercury start the retrograde and go direct, over your Mercury, that means that there's been a lot of back and forth conversations about joint resources, spending, and money already. Maybe your partner's been going back and forth with a financial matter, but now that Mars is coming into conjunction with Mercury, it looks like you're getting ready to kind of like make a move. And, you know, Capricorn is about timing. So I'm wondering, like, are you guys wondering, is it the right time to buy something? Is it the right time to invest in something? Is it the right time to change jobs? Regardless of what it is, I'm looking forward to this other 2 full moons that you're going to have, because I think with the trines to your natal planets in Taurus and the sextiles to Scorpio, it's going to be more job opportunities for your partner, and it's going to be the opportunity for you to have more free time, in my opinion. We'll see what happens, because Saturn's going to move into your 10th house. So you might say, well, I have more responsibility at work, so then, you know, I need to get paid more. I need better benefits. That could be coming up here as well. But the 8th house, it has another side. It's the side of being like you give something up and then you receive something. So it can also mean that you're going, okay, I'm ready to finally, you know, let go of one, you know, line of credit, but I'm getting better credit, or I'm paying something off, but it's going to allow me to have more financial freedom in the future, right? I'm curious, but that Mercury retrograde over your natal Mercury, was it about somebody paying you back? Or returning some kind of funds? Or was it about somebody talking to you about, you know, joint resources or taxes? Something like that should have happened with Mercury being there. It could have been insurance matters too. Sometimes that's about making sure insurance stuff is covering something, or some kind of claim is being covered, pre-authorization, especially because Mercury is your chart ruler. Just curious, but it literally went retrograde over your natal Mercury. So it had to be something significant in terms of talking to other people about some very sensitive information. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Let's see. So we've got Ripples. Oh, there she is. I'm getting my payout. I was like, should be something like that. Congrats. Especially with Jupiter trining. Jupiter is going to trine that. You will get your payout. Especially, well, it could be Mercury, Mars. Could be January 16th. But probably Venus. January 30th. To February 1st. Look for those dates. But yeah, something's getting settled. Good for you. All right, we got still Ripples and then Chiron. That was a gnarly retrograde. It went retrograde at 8, and I was like, man, this is going to be difficult. Like somebody's going to pass, and I have a bunch of planets in Capricorn, and there was like 3 deaths in the period of that Mercury retrograde in my family, and I was like, what the hell is going on? This is crazy. Where is Ripples? Do I have you under another name? Let's see. I'll have to create it. I know I had one for you somewhere. February 20th. All right, so I got you here February 20th, 1975, 4:59 a.m., and that was in Baton Rouge. Ripple says, hey Candace, I'd like to use my membership for tonight. I had a destabilizing past couple of weeks with housing and finances. Any thoughts when stability might happen with Uranus in the 4th? All right, we'll take a look at that. I've got a lot of people asking if I have them in the queue. So let me let you guys know who I have. I'm Still working through our level 3 people. So I appreciate your guys' patience. Who else do I have here? Okay, so I've got Gosdi, Christine, Amanda, Esmeralda, Nadine, and Simone. Okay, so if you heard your name, I've got you. If you heard your name, I've got you, and I will add you guys to my list. All right, so Ripples is asking about finding some stability at home. I have you Sage Moon. I called you guys already. And she's asking about if Uranus is going to give her some stability. And she's had some stuff going on with money in her living situation. So basically, Uranus is transiting her 4th house, which can bring some unexpected, shocking, surprising turn of events with home, right? 4th house is home. Taurus is money. So there's no coincidence here. You've also got Pluto transiting your ascendant. So that can also make you feel like you're going through some kind of personal change, transformation, crisis, right? The money stuff, I think, is more stemming from Neptune coming in conjunction with your Venus, which is the ruler of your 4th house. So Neptune can be like, where is it? I need it. What's going on? It's slipping between my fingers. It's dissolving. Or, you know, having some experiences where you're like, I thought this was going to work out. It didn't. I thought I had it. I don't. Part of me feels inclined to tell you that Uranus going direct at the end of the month might bring some stuff up. And Uranus is also trining your Mars pretty soon here. And Mars is in the 12th house, which is about ends of situations. It is your traditional whole sign 4th house ruler for Aries, but it rules your 3rd house. So it can talk about like needing to kind of travel lightly or kind of going in between some places. The eclipse that we're going to have over the spring, I think, is another indication. I mean, I know I'm throwing a lot at you. Uranus is going direct at the end of the month. Eclipse is in the spring. Basically, everything is saying there's something that might be kind of getting reorganized with your home or your living situation. Now, I think this is going to be at the end of March, beginning of April. You're going to be experiencing a Mercury retrograde in your 3rd house, which can mean about like moving something about your living situation. And an eclipse at the same time, which is right on top of your Chiron. Let me ask you a question. Is it about you finding your own space? Is it about you dealing with a family situation? Have you had a problem with a neighbor? Are you considering like tapping a sibling and asking for some help for like a temporary space? Is there anything like that going on? Because all of these things seem to be kind of coming up at the same time. Even Mars is on your sun at the time of the eclipses. So you have the Libra eclipse at the end of March, and then you're going to have the Aries eclipse at the beginning. And this makes me feel like somewhere around the end of March, beginning of April, there could be a move. Finding my own stable housing. Okay. So I would say this to any Capricorn rising. Between an eclipse and a Mercury retrograde in your whole sign 4th house, it's going to be about, you know, getting your own space kind of situated. I feel, on one hand, because this is an eclipse that's going to last for about a year, and on the other hand, we have to wait until Mars shows up, that somewhere around the beginning of April, when the eclipse hits, until when Mars hits 19 degrees, that is when you're going to have the situation, I think, kind of like rectified, and like you'll have your own space. And I think it's supposed to be independent because it's Aries, right? What we know is that for Pisces right now, you know, Saturn being in Pisces is like making your own way, figuring out things on your own. You're going to hear the horoscope for Gemini is going to be like, you have an option to go to this home or that home, or you're going in between two places, or you're staying with a sibling. In your case, I feel like it could be all of the things, you know, but the biggest focus, I think, because the slower moving planet is Saturn, is your financial situation. Saturn kind of hitting your Jupiter and hitting your Venus soon means that this is about really focusing on, okay, how am I making money? How can I do it in a sustainable way? You got an exalted Venus and Jupiter in conjunction, so we know you can make money. We know that you can bring stuff in, but it's trying to get you to be mindful of your spending and to be really thinking about how you can be investing in things that's going to give you long-term security. So Saturn going through the second house is kind of like tightening the belt on spending or on consuming or on, partying or traveling or having fun. And it's going to make you think about security differently. So it might mean that you're cutting back in certain areas of your life, especially pertaining to like, spending on, things that bring you pleasure or expensive luxury goods to be able to better afford your living situation. But you got some positive stuff. Jupiter's going to sit on your moon. So it's going to provide you with a new opportunity for a living situation in this next year. It might be something temporary or something where you're going back and forth between two places. It can also mean that there is some kind of housing opportunity that comes through a younger person, a younger sibling, or a romantic partner that opens the door and says, okay, how can we potentially consider living together, or how can I help you so you can get this situation under control? But I think the North Node and the eclipses in Aries are saying that you still need some sense of independence. So you're not going to be wanting to rely on another person, or you're not going to be wanting to share space with somebody for a long period of time. Jupiter traditionally rules your second house. And with Jupiter being there and it's conjunct Venus, I feel like if we were to look at this from whole sign standards, this might be like an online business you start. This might be something you do in media. This could be like a local business or something about transportation where you're like kind of starting something this year that could give you more funds to be able to make some extra cash, to be able to better provide for like a new living situation. But generally when I see somebody have, Jupiter come up on their moon, like the new living situation is positive. Like, it's something that's actually really beneficial. But in the background in 2024, the second half of the year, we're going to see Saturn start squaring Jupiter. So it's not going to allow Jupiter to do too much. So you're going to go, well, I can't be, going back and forth between two places. I need to be grounded. So it's not going to want to have you shifting back and forth. And yeah, Uranus in the fourth house will do this. But the positive thing is that, in the next year or so, it'll start sextiling your Jupiter and your Venus. So you'll go, well, where can I make lemonade? And where can some of these unconventional ways of like living actually better support me? You may actually find that you move into a situation that's like communal, or you're living in a space where there could be other people on the property. Maybe you're thinking about investing into a space where you could like rent out a room, or you could rent out a second space so it could help you pay for your cost of living. Or if you're feeling adventurous, you could travel and you could like rent that space out while you're not using it. And it could help pay for your cost of living, especially because it's going to trine your Mars. So I think that that's really wonderful. It's going to give you the opportunity to have more of a say with what's going on with your home or your living situation. It's the Uranus squares that I would watch out for, because you're not in the opposition or anything. You're not having any squares yet, but as it starts going into Gemini, it'll start squaring your sun. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I really feel like with your transits, I can see that there will be an opportunity in March and April, then there's going to be an opportunity in July and August to move, and things will definitely stabilize. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Ripples. Good luck. Lots of good home and living situation vibes we are sending you. Let's see. Let's look at Chiron. Somebody said, would that manifest different for a Capricorn rising? No, pretty similarly. It depends on their own natal placements. But the North Node for a Capricorn rising and the eclipse in the retrograde for a lot of people is going to be dealing with a home matter, a family matter, a crisis in the family, needing to find your own space. That eclipse that's coming in April is going to be intense for everybody, but especially for the cardinal signs. So we've got Chiron's key here. Hello, I'd like to cash in on my monthly. Any insights on my transits this month? I'm definitely feeling Pluto, Saturn, and Chiron. Let's take a look. So Chiron's key is a Libra rising with Sun in Gemini and Moon in Sag. And they said they're feeling Pluto, Saturn, and Chiron. Yep. So Pluto is finally working its way out of a square with your ascendant, which is good. It'll still hang around for another year, but it's kind of starting to wrap up. You're in the midst of your Pluto square Pluto. So there's still a lot of like kind of clearing out old, outdated ways of looking at the relationship to yourself or your own personal power. And we've got Saturn that is coming into a square with your South Node and your North Node. So for Libra risings, you're going to hear that this is like health-related matters, scheduling matters. Personally, Saturn's still in your 4th house. So I can see Saturn's been squaring your moon, and now it's squaring the node. So I'm wondering, like, is there a huge shift revolving around your home or learning to heal or let go of the past and like releasing the past in some way? Is that happening for you? And Chiron is at 15. And it's going to start moving up now because it's direct. So it's going to be heading towards a conjunction with the North Node actually in February. You know, you're a Libra rising chart. You are. But you could, and maybe I would say should, also be listening to Scorpio, because you're going to have this eclipse that's going to be in your 6th house. And I noticed that Pluto is squaring Pluto in your 1st house. So this can be issues revolving around health changes. I've seen a lot of late degree Libra risings and some Scorpio risings that are sick. And I've seen Libra risings that are sick because Saturn's in their whole sign 6th house. So I see it both ways. You know, Chiron coming into conjunction with the North Node. It sounds like you know a thing or two about Chiron. You have that conjunction natally. It's kind of like this hard realignment with healing. And I think in Aries, it's about not just healing oneself, but it's about what we do with anger, with excess heat, with frustration, what we do with, just anything that we're not releasing, and how it can create congestion, headaches, migraines, accidents, cuts, burns, abrasions. And all of this is coming into an inconjunct or a quincunx with your Mars, right? So basically, like, it's kind of saying like, okay, what do you do with some of this frustration? You have a very powerful chart, and it can go one of two ways. Anytime I see Mars or Pluto or Saturn in conjunction, it's like what you do with that power. Is it used for good? Is it used for bad? Does it consume you? And then when I see an 8th house stellium, the same thing. So a lot of your chart is about learning to transmute some of that negativity or pain or the experiences that you've had and like what you do with it. Okay, cool. So you listened to, yeah, I was sick for 3 weeks. Yep. And the eclipse is still coming. So a lot of late degree Libra risings and Scorpio risings can get sick with these eclipses. So really you want to be watching and paying attention with what's going on with Venus. Well, this next year, Saturn's going to start coming into a square with your Venus. So it's like, does that start happening where, you're not dealing with heart-related matters or inner child issues, or are you denying yourself happiness or pleasure, or there's some deep-seated, stuff relating to home and family that's impacting your ability to, receive love. That can be coming up. I think for me, also, it's the eclipse that you had that was right on your descendant in the spring. And so planets are going to start coming through here now. That's going to reactivate this pretty much like April through June, which is going to bring lots of opportunity for going deep in relationship to other people. And whether this is like romantic partners, whether this is like counselors or therapists, this can be with clients too. If you have like a client-based business, you might see a major influx of the ability to be able to work more with other people. But if you're not feeling well, that's going to be kind of stunted, and it's going to put you in a position of learning to practice vulnerability through asking other people for support, or going to your, healing team or your medical team and kind of like working with them as well, right? So there's a lot to kind of like unpack here with all of that. I would be on the up and up March and April with some of your health stuff. And I'm not saying this to be doom and gloom, because I don't think that's what this is. I think for the most part, you know, Saturn's going to trine Mars, and that's your saving grace in this next year. But if you think about this from a whole sign Libra perspective, if you have Saturn and Mars in the second house whole sign, this is what you're cutting out of your diet or what you're removing that needs to be removed or purged out, right, Scorpio? So is it stimulants? Is it toxins? Is it processed food? You know, maybe an elimination diet can be good. I have Mars in Scorpio. My second house is a Scorpio as a Libra rising. And for me, it's, I've noticed I'm very, very, very sensitive to heavy metals. So I have to, you know, wash and clean everything. Obviously you should, but before I eat it. And I go through cycles of having elimination diets and cutting stuff out of my diet, and that really helps, you know. You've been working with a shaman, cool. Yeah, Jupiter, you know, going into the 8th house can be clearing stuff spiritually, and there can be miraculous healings that can happen also with Jupiter or Uranus actually in your 8th house. And you're about to have both. Uranus is kind of brinking on the cusp of your 8th house. So I would go and learn about Uranus transit your 8th house, because that's coming pretty soon. And I think all of these Jupiter transits are going to give you the opportunity for renewal. And it's going to be how you share and communicate and kind of talk about that. Hopefully that's helpful for you. You got a lot going on. I love your chart. Now I can see why you associate it with Chiron, and the 8th house is always like keys and locks, right? Hopefully that's helpful. Did I get all of my level 3 people already? I know we called last call, but I think that was the last one, right? I'm pretty sure. This is probably a good time for me to take a quick break and add the rest of these charts really quick. So as a heads up, just so you guys know, I've got Sophia, Danielle, Matt, Sage Moon, Fiorella, Gauzy, Christine, Amanda, Esmeralda, Nadine, and Simone. So if you heard your name, you made the list. If you didn't hear your name, hopefully I can see you next week. All right, so let me add these up really quick. And then Christine, I did not get your info. June 18th, 93. Thank you, Chris. Thank you guys for your patience. We're almost done. Simone, can I get your birth time, please? Oh, there she is. 6:55. Thank you. I've got you for Rilla. Oh, there's music. Play the fuck, this is too expensive. That's hilarious. Okay, so we're gonna start with Sophia, and then we'll have not Sophia, she is somebody else. We're gonna start with Danielle, and then we will have Matt. Or do we have Sophia? No, we do have Sophia. There's two Sophias, sorry. So I have Sophia, then I have Danielle, and then I have Matt. So that's the order that we're going to start in. Okay. Let me pull her up again. Sorry, Sophia. I saw somebody else in there who's a client. I was like, what? Okay, so she's got Synastry. So we're going to see... This is Grant. $1229.82. And looks like that's at 12:26 p.m. All right. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I got you. there's two Sophias here. So we've got Sophia S, and then we've got is there another one down here? And I know we have Sophia S. I'll read the question so you guys know who it is. All right. So Sophia S says, "Great day. I had that full moon in Cancer that happened, and I met someone that sets off all the good alarms. The feeling is mutual. I've never met someone, and it seems so in sync. What does your synastry say about a possible pathway?" So you're 41381 in Chicago. And he is Grant, 1229.82 in Rochester. Okay, cool. So we're going to do some synastry. Basically, this is where we're going to lay Grant's astrology over Sophia's, and we're going to see how they relate to each other. A couple things that meet my eye, that catch my eye right off the bat, probably is the South Node Sun on the ascendant. So my astrology teacher told me a long time ago that one of the best aspects you can have in astrology is when you have one partner's sun in conjunction to the ascendant. There's like 40 people watching. Can anybody figure out why that's the case? So the ascendant is seen as like the front door to your horoscope. This is what you're learning to like embody in this lifetime. So the Capricorn ascendant is maturity, goals, responsibility, getting work done, being very practical, being very reliable. So being a Capricorn rising, you show that to the world, right? That's kind of how you work. You're learning to embody that energy. So when you have a person who comes in whose sun, which illuminates something, sits on your ascendant, first of all, they're going to be on you like Velcro. They won't leave you alone. You have to like peel them off of you because the ascendant is your physical body. It's who you are. So they will, number one, they're going to make you look good. So you go out together, you guys are going to look good together, people are going to see you. But they're illuminating the path of what you're here to become, what you're here to embody. And what's cool is you're listening to your horoscope, probably for Capricorn, right? Because you're a Capricorn rising. And you could listen to that and you're like, wow, what I'm supposed to be doing or what I'm going through, it will kind of reverberate into their horoscope as well. And they can kind of help you with that process of kind of going through whatever you're going through. So if you're experiencing Capricorn rising things like changes with home, stuff with family, you know, thinking long about like long, hard decisions about relationships and falling in love and maybe, you know, maybe kids, because you're going to have, you know, Jupiter and Uranus going into your 5th house. This person can illuminate that path if these are things that you're interested in. Maybe you guys have similar hobbies too. I don't know. So I like the sun on the ascendant personally. Also, something else that I like is when you have somebody who has their Venus in the same sign as your ascendant. Why? Because they're going to find you attractive. A man's chart, his Venus is what he's attracted to. So Venus in Capricorn is, you know, somebody who is going to be attracted to women who are going to be more traditional, more refined. And yeah, basically you're going to be like the epitome of what he finds attractive. So he's going to gravitate towards you. He also has Mercury in Capricorn. So you guys are going to kind of like speak the same language. Obviously, Capricorn, I should say, just in your astrology, let's look at your chart. Capricorn is a very strong midpoint for you. And so if you get further into your astrological interest, if you start studying it, people should learn about midpoints. They're really important. You can do these midpoint calculations, which are going to be calculation points between two planets. And it's like seeing invisible parts of the chart that you don't see that meet the eye just looking at it. So because you have, you know, all these planets in Libra, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and you have all these planets in Aries, Capricorn stuff is like a big old midpoint for you. Anything from 2 to 26 degrees triggers a bunch of midpoints for you. And midpoints are also squares because Capricorn squares this. So you hear a lot of stuff about, oh, well, Capricorns don't get along with Aries or with Libras or whatever because they square each other, when in reality, what I have seen in relationship charts of people who actually make it work in the long term, they generally have a lot of squares to each other's, you know, personal planets or to their nodes or to their midpoints. And he has a lot of that. So he's triggering all of your midpoints, which is showing you this missing piece of like what you may very well need in order to grow and come out of all of this opposition in your chart where you're like, relationships are hard. I have to choose between, you know, my home life or my career life, or, you know, I can't really feel like I can make time to kind of balance this out. And so he kind of comes in and says like, well, you can do it if you're willing to make those changes, if you're willing to do the work. So he triggers a lot of stuff in your chart. So that's that feeling of like, oh, this person's different. Like something works because he's got the element that you lack, which is earth. He has a ton of it. For other relationship stuff, you know, I like to see aspects between Mars and Venus. Obviously, your Mars is in Aries and your Venus is in Aries. So you're like, you can fall in love quite quickly, or you can move into relationships quite quickly. I always laugh at the combination between somebody who's got a lot of Capricorn, particularly Venus in Capricorn, and somebody who's got a lot of Aries, because they have both Venus and Mercury 10th house to your planets, which means like they're a challenge. So you may find yourself trying to kind of act a little bit more serious around this person or with this person, or when it comes to, you know, you looking at them being like, wow, this is something that I really want. Because 10 houses away represents something that you're striving to like achieve. But Venus is important because it's what you like to wear, how you decorate things, what you like to eat, what kind of things you like to do for pleasure, what kind of movies you like, what kind of art you like. So you guys are going to have completely different tastes. You guys are going to have different ways of showing love as well. Some people say like a Venus and Mars square isn't bad. You guys have that. So there can be some sexual friction, which is good. But you guys have two different love languages. So where you may be a little bit more quick and wanting to jump into something, Venus in Capricorn does not just invest into anything. And they can be a little bit more challenging when it comes to like affection. What's nice is both of you guys have, Venus and Mercury in the same sign, so you're able to vocalize what you need, but do expect that there's going to be some clash in terms of your, personal preferences. You also have his Venus, which is in a trine to your Chiron, so he can come in and kind of gas you up a little bit and kind of heal issues revolving around feeling good enough or worthy. His Mars is in Gemini. It sextiles your Venus. That's good. His Mars does make an opposition to your moon, so you may find that there can be some challenges revolving around talking about domestic things. And he also has his Pluto in conjunction to your Juno. Saturn's in conjunction to Juno as well, so that can be like the glue that holds like a relationship together and binds it. Basically, I think a lot of the planets in the first house, I also think that the North Node on the descendant, I think the moon in the fifth house, these are all things that I like to see in a committed relationship, North Node in the seventh is kind of teaching them, or him teaching you about relationship and how to grow into relationship, especially in a domestic sense, because it's Cancer, it's relating to the moon. And then the fifth house, which is about true love and romance, the seventh house, which is about commitment, you have this nice aspect between the moon and the fifth, which can be talking about, building a home together, being creative, being romantic. He's got a lot of Capricorn in his chart, but I think the moon in Gemini, he's not as stuffy, maybe, is what you would see with like that much kind of like a Saturn placement, in my opinion. And then obviously, your guys' moons, they sextile each other. So that's nice as well in terms of emotionally relating. Mercury squares Sun, there can be a sense of him just wanting to kind of like slow things down or take his time, and he may feel like you're a little impatient. So if I flip it around, it looks like Grant has a Aries rising, and his sun is in Capricorn and his moon is in Gemini in the second house. And would you look at that, your sun, your Venus, and your Mars sit on his ascendant. So he may not mind that sense of kind of like feistiness and impatience. He might appreciate it. You guys both have Venus and the sun in each other's first house, which is like amazing. You guys also both have each other's moons in the fifth house, which is really great for romance. And then even though he's a Capricorn, a lot of the energy is kind of spread between his ninth and his 10th house. So he should like travel and philosophy and culture. He's not like all business, but he can be with Venus and Mercury in the 10th house. And he may be a little bit more traditional when it comes to relationships, at least in terms of long-term relationships. Let's see, you've got Pluto in his 7th, you've got Jupiter and Saturn conjunct his vertex. That can be big also for learning about give and take in relationships and learning to like be supportive in relationships. And Uranus in the 8th. South Node. South Node is within 7 degrees range of Mars. So that's the other thing, is that it doesn't really matter where it is in the chart. South Node Mars contacts at first can feel like there's a lot of strong physical attraction. And it can be sexual attraction, but you want to watch, because the South Node can also show where there can be frustration or there can be conflict or some heated arguments. But, Mars sextiles Mars and Venus. I think it can be transmuted. You don't really have any other oppositions or squares except for the moon. And because both of you guys have moon in the 5th house, both of you guys are going to want the other person to feel loved and admired and like appreciated and like kind of like, you're going to kind of put them on a pedestal a little bit. So a lot of it's going to be about sharing your guys' hobbies and your interests with each other and trying to take interest in each other's stuff, basically. But you have a lot of the things that I like and that I look for when it comes to synastry. And I feel like with the Venus and the sun in each other's first house, you guys are always going to want to be around each other, which is nice. You guys are bringing that attention to what is kind of missing. So he likes your spiciness. Maybe he's good in a sense of being really stable and supportive for you. and your Lilith sits on the descendant. So it makes me feel like he looks at you as like, oh, like that's something that I want. How can I have more of that? But he could be a little intimidated by you with that placement as well. Yeah, you get my stamp of approval. Those of you guys who have seen me do the Synastry stuff, I'm kind of just really honest with you about what I see, but I really like the aspects that you have here. Just keep in mind that all of your planets in his first house oppose Pluto in the 7th. Like, you're not going to be okay with having this be something that's like an open-ended, like not defined relationship, because there can be some like jealousy and some possessiveness that can kind of come up here. So there's going to be a sense of like you wanting to be like, okay, what are we doing? Or, you know, what is this? What's going on here? Which you don't always hear from Venus in Aries, because you guys are more interested, I think, in like the chase and the excitement. And Venus in Capricorn is a little bit more traditional. So you may find that, you know, like he's kind of entertained by the fact that you're really enthusiastic about the connection. But you may find that he's also a little intimidated by it as well. Venus and Capricorn, they're really particular because they think about who they're kind of building with. Anyway, come back. Let me know how it goes. That's a really, really interesting chart that you've got there with you and him. All right, so we've got Danielle that's next. Let's pull Danielle up. There we go. Okay, so Danielle says, live question, January 12th for 24. Okay, so you're 5/1/81 at 9:23 a.m. Guidance with any upcoming personal transits, hoping it's a smoother year than 2023. Well, let's take a look. Let's see. So you're a Cancer rising with your sun in Taurus and your moon is in Aries. Well, obviously being a Cancer rising, you know, the lunar transits are really important. So lunar eclipses, full moons, transits to your moon, that's where you're going to see like the most action. I think about Jupiter kind of blessing you this year and coming into contact with all of these planets. It's been sitting on your Mars, so it's been really incentivizing you, I think, when it comes to business and also like making friends, socializing. You know, you're going to find that all year long, that's going to be a really important theme because Jupiter is still going to be kind of hanging out here until the summer. So you got about 6 months of that, connecting and networking with people. Jupiter brings positive things. It brings you more opportunities for health, for work, for service. And so I think that maybe you're going to be wanting to surround yourself with people who are bringing these opportunities to you. Eclipses that are going to be in your 10th house and throughout all of 2024 into the beginning of 2025, the North Node will come into conjunction with your moon, which in my mind is a pretty damn important transit for you being a Cancer moon. You only get that every 18.5 years. So what does the moon represent? Homes, mothers, public reputation. It can also be about your private life. The moon in the 10th house is, I think, going to be about developing your, public reputation. In another couple of years, Saturn is going to hit that. Neptune is going to hit that. So there is a big storyline brewing about what you're embracing in terms of new identities out in the world, professionally or personally. I think in a couple of years when Saturn and Neptune hit your moon, it's going to be like, well, I am now identifying as an author, or I am now, living in a foreign place, or I am now, being a teacher, or, going through some kind of training. It might be one of these things, but it's being set off by the eclipses and the North Node coming into conjunction with your moon, where you're saying, okay, I'm ready to embrace like a new identity out in the world. These can be feminine things as well. So it can be, your relationship, to your mother or to your children if you have kids, or it can be the birth of a new business. But that's really important, and you're going to be kind of dancing with that really between now and the beginning of next year. I also think about how you're going to be having Pluto come into a conjunction with your south node. Now that'll play out over a couple of years, but you're going to be feeling that. And Saturn is like the karmic clearing. Pluto is the karmic clearing on your south node. So this is going to be about maybe healing trauma, especially relating to childhood or relating to intimacy issues or fears of vulnerability, or like clearing up or shoring up issues also with finances. Things have been wild because you've been in the midst of a pretty crazy Uranus transit the last couple of years. That's the truth. But now Uranus is finally leaving, and it's going to move away from 19 degrees. So it's now moving out of range of your personal planets. Things are going to stabilize a little bit. Focus on connection with community and have like-minded people around, and really invest in some of these relationships. And I would also say just really get ready for some of these transits in your 10th house, because there's something brewing that's going to be very big in regards to your career. If you look at your natal chart, you were born with your chart ruler in opposition to Jupiter and Saturn. So it almost seems as if you have focused on or prioritized work, career, responsibility, independence over Saturn, Jupiter in the 4th house, living with people, relationships, maybe home or domestic things like, having kids or settling down. There's been a sense of being like, well, I can't do this and that. That's how the opposition works in the 4th and the 10th house. So now the North Node's coming into conjunction with the Moon saying, well, you can be whatever you want to be. And it's encouraging you to clear out all of these family patterning tendencies or outdated notions that you can't have your cake and eat it too when it comes to your private life and also your professional life. This may come with changes in residence, clearing out closets, making changes with relationships to family. And I think a lot of it's going to be clearing out some kind of karma relating to relationship with a parent or with family, because Pluto is going to be trining this at the same time that you're going through that. Those eclipses. Really pay attention to the eclipses that we're going to have in the spring of 2024. But we're also going to be having one in the fall, which will be in Libra, and then there's still eclipses going into 2025. So when those eclipses are happening in Taurus and in Libra and Aries, you're gonna get hit by some of these transits, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you and giving you some insight. All right, so we've got Matt. What's up, Matt? Matt's got a couple questions for me. All right, so Matt says, all right. Question 1, will I be able to pass my teacher certification exam on February 3rd? I would very much like it done on this date so I don't have to hire a tutor. Long story short, I cannot go back to being a TA. I need it done by May, but I'm hoping to have it knocked out. Second question, should I be expecting any major issues getting to work this week with all the bad weather? I work with at-risk youth and I have to work even in the snow. I'm not so much worried about my travel as much as I'm dealing with my caring of a mother if anything were to go wrong. Thank you. God bless. 1111. Can we please talk about how they admitted they've been lying about Neptune being blue? In all honesty, I have heard nothing about this, so I am now going to go into a total research mode about Neptune being blue. What color is Neptune supposedly? And I'm not surprised with Neptune being kind of like something that's deceptive, and Saturn is in Pisces right now. So I think there's a lot of things that we think that are one way and we're realizing it's something else. But please tell me it's pink. What color is Neptune? All right, so you've got a teacher certification exam on February the 3rd. Let's look. I'm going to say it's earlier in the day. All right, so for you, we're going to have exams could be Mercury, something that you're writing in, but also Jupiter, okay? So Mercury's coming into conjunction with your sun and also with Pluto, so that can indicate a change. We've got Jupiter, which is connected to your 9th house of higher studies. And it looks to me like you're getting ready to see Mercury square Jupiter. So that can indicate, you know, joining a new group, working with a new group of people. Saturn also rules your career, and you're now just kind of starting to come into your Saturn's return. I don't really see any negative aspects with Mercury. If anything, I think the sextile to Neptune is like more worrying about this than anything, right? And seeing, you know, whether or not you've passed. But I would assume as soon as Mars starts coming into conjunction with your sun, you're going to be aware that there's going to be something new that's going to be starting, because that's going to be about the type of work that you're doing. Let me look at, what city are you currently in? Do you mind me asking? I want to look at the lunar return really quick. Are you still in Tennessee? I think you are, from what I remember. Same color as Uranus. Okay, that's kind of like a teal, right? Yeah, obviously that's gonna make somebody laugh. Memphis, okay. Oh my gosh, I was just in Memphis twice. I was driving to Chicago. I went to Graceland. Okay, so this is your lunar return for February. Sun on the ascendant. You've got Aquarius 10, so that's about like leveling up at work. Mars is the ruler of the 10th house, and Mars is coming into conjunction with Mercury. Are you anticipating passing and then taking a job and having to quit a job? Is that happening? Because that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. It's like you pass and then you're like, okay, you know, do I need to be looking for new employment? Am I leaving? Something like that. Seems like that's happening, but you're keeping it a secret until you've got new employment. Mercury is also trining Uranus, which is nice. And Mars is also trining Uranus. So I feel like probably what you're going to find is that this will be the month that you pass it. And then next month is probably going to be getting a job. Yeah, North Node in the 10th house. So there might be like a month in between. I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, sorry. No, I need this to be in position at work. Okay. So I don't see you losing your job. We would need to see something going on with like, you know, maybe Mars on your sun, but I think that's going to happen way after. Yeah, no. I think Mars on your sun is going to be about potentially working either in a new position or a different department. Okay. But Mars on your sun, you're going to have Venus there as well. So I don't really see that going anywhere. You know, Saturn in the 10th house, you have to realize it is your Saturn return. So there is going to be a sense of you really re-evaluating in February, you know, do I want to still work in these conditions? Do I want to be in this department? You know, your Saturn return's coming up and it's at a 10, and it's about you questioning, okay, am I going to let something go? Am I going to bring something else in? So that could be coming up for you in March. And then Saturn will retrograde and it'll come back, but it's not going to hit your Saturn. So you're only going to have your Saturn return one time, unlike other people who will have it several times. So my advice is really pay attention to what's going on in your life. Let's say February 27th through about mid-March. What's nice is that the Saturn return sextiles with Jupiter. So I don't see this being like, oh, you lose your job and you're out of luck. No, it's like, if anything, you know, you continue on where you're going and then you have more of a capability of bringing in more resources. I don't think anything's going to change, personally. And I think the Mercury retrograde in your 10th house also has been about how do I, you know, get things in order and prepare and get ready. And it's been in a square to Neptune. So there's been a sense of being like, is it going to work? Is it not? I think you'll be feeling a little bit more optimistic around the 18th of January on. And I also feel like with Mercury and Mars in conjunction, trine Jupiter, this is a wonderful time to be like really studying and making sure that you're making the most of these energies for the next 2 weeks. Not because your test is coming up, but because this is really great for studying in your chart. Trines to Jupiter are going to help you feel more solid in what you're learning. And then you were asking about traveling and going back and forth with work because you're working in snowy conditions, or I'm going to assume snowy conditions, and you're concerned about potentially going back and forth. Well, so much of the squares between Sagittarius and Neptune in Pisces has literally been about bad weather. I'm not a weather woman, but I feel like we're already through the thick of it. Now that we're getting ready to see, Neptune come out of the square with Mercury, Venus will square Neptune, and then we're kind of in the clear. Accidents in particular are going to deal more with Mars or things involving your 6th house. So Mars is going to come into conjunction with your Sun, which is your 6th house ruler, and Pluto. Am I saying this is going to be an accident? No, but I'll give you the dates that I would pay attention to. I know for a fact there's going to be bad weather and horrible visibility on January 21st and 22nd because the moon's going to go through Gemini, which is driving. It's going to oppose Venus, which can be health, and it's going to square Neptune. There's going to be like lots of fog or haze in some places. There's also going to be issues with ice. So that's what I would be watching for, like defrosting things, letting things warm up, doing whatever you got to do if you're, in transit during that time. And then you're going to see Mars come into conjunction with Pluto, which is right on your Sun. And you want to watch for squares. So February 14th, give or take a day on each side. You're going to have Mars on your Sun, and the moon will oppose that. So another day would be February 21st. And then things are kind of easing up a little bit. So once you get that Mars Pluto off of your Sun, you're good. I mean, your Sun is at a 3, so it does deal with vehicles, traveling, communication. I would just say make sure that you're not texting and driving, you're not on the phone, you're being careful when you're coming and going from places. Obviously, watch for ice, okay? That's the one thing that you want to be mindful of. People think Aquarius is just the air. It's not. It's literally like, it's ruled by Saturn. So it's about the dead of winter. And this could also be about like mechanical issues with vehicles as well. Although I think if you were going to see that, you would see a pretty gnarly Mercury transit, but you're not seeing that. Uranus will start coming into a square with Mercury. So maybe in April, but by then things are kind of warming up. But I'm not necessarily seeing accidents. You don't have the kind of transits that I see when people have that. But the next couple of years with Pluto on your Sun, you just want to be mindful of when you're in transit, when you're driving around or biking around or walking around, especially with other people. I would say I'd be more concerned about getting in the car with other people who are driving because the 11th house can be others. Where other people are not as aware when they're in the car, but I'm not as concerned about you doing that, if that makes any sense. And also, Saturn is at a 10 in your 12th house, so it represents like, having fears about things that could happen that could, create an injury or put you in the hospital. Like, where thoughts go, energy flows. So don't be doing anything like that. And you're already out of Pluto square your moon, so I'm not seeing it. The only other time maybe that I would be paying attention is when Uranus is squaring your Mars, which will start up in 2025 and Pluto's on your Sun. But that's like down the road, so I don't want to send you into a tailspin. But that can be a time, especially because, Uranus can be in the 2nd house, things involving your physical body or your nervous system. And the squares to Mars could be like if you're stressed out and you're worried about driving, right? But I'd be more concerned about getting in the car with other people than you going anywhere. But give you a couple of dates here. You want to definitely watch when Mars is near your Sun. You definitely want to watch when you see like the moon in opposition to Venus square Neptune. The 21st is going to be some pretty gnarly weather, but I think you're going to be okay. Hopefully that's helpful for you. All right, so I've got, who else do I have here? Sage Moon, Fiorella, and then Gazdi. You guys are all up next. Good luck with your test, Matt. Sending you lots of good vibes. So we've got Sage Moon. Says, hey Candace, based on my chart or my transits, I love to know what I need to look out for. I'm very career oriented and I've been working on a side hustle behind the scenes, but with my Pisces moon, of course, love is always on my mind. I don't want to be blind due to being hyper focused on work. I'm really feeling it's go time for my side hustle too. I'm just very optimistic right now. January 9th, 73. I would love to know what to look out for. Okay, so for me, which Sophia is this? I have so many Sophias. I'm so sorry. Let's see. I don't have Amanda yet. Amanda, you're still coming. And then Sophia Bernard. I have a Sophia Scales, which we already did. And Sophia, can you tell me what name it would be under that you booked, please? Because I do not have you. Or what email? Or was it under a different name? Nadine. Okay, that's not what it's under. So yeah, we haven't done yours yet. Okay, so we're gonna do Sage Moon, Fiorella, and Gazdi. You guys are still up next. Okay, so for me, Sage Moon, looking at your transits right now, kind of like what you expressed about being like, but there's love and then there's career. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? You have Neptune on your ascendant right now. Okay. So with Neptune on your ascendant, basically there's this sense of kind of going in and out of periods of being kind of daydreamy and, you know, feeling really in tune with your vision and things that you're kind of working on, stuff that you're kind of doing. And that square that it's having to your midheaven is like, well, but what about work and career, you know? And then also Venus is on your midheaven. So you're always focused on you know, relationships with Venus on the midheaven, but also your relationship to your career. So what I'm getting at is the Neptune transit on your ascendant is really highlighting like, okay, are you in dreamland? You know, are you dreaming about what relationships could be? Are you idealizing someone? Are you living in kind of fantasy land? Are you feeling inspired, right? That's the other way that this could play out. And because it's on an angle, there is this sense of either being really deep in your visions and your intuition and what you're feeling is coming, or it can sometimes for some people be like being delusional. It depends on the other aspects that, you know, are kind of playing out. But with Neptune square Venus, especially Venus at a 27, it can have you idealizing more than one person. It can have you idealizing more than one potential job opportunity or, you know, different creative projects. Really, my advice is that you want to maybe pay attention to when the moon goes into Pisces, because you're going to see the moon hit Saturn, where you're going to get really serious about working on something or like really serious about your goals. And then you're going to see moon hit Neptune, and then you're going to be like, okay, am I daydreaming? Like, is this, you know, like, am I just kind of like off in la la land? Like, is this working? Is this not working? And notice the shift that happens within like that 2-day period of what you're working on. Because sometimes we can be so overly committed to something, and then by the time the moon hits Neptune, we're like, pfft. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because Saturn is on a one-way track in 2025, heading towards a conjunction with your ascendant, where I feel like with Saturn and Neptune on your ascendant, you are going to have to get real about making your dreams a reality. And that is exactly when it starts squaring your Venus. Which is about making money, it's about resources, it's about expressing yourself, it can be about relationships. So you don't want to be kind of hanging out for a year to a year and a half, hoping and wishing that certain things are going to come into fruition, and not really doing your due diligence to see things clearly. Now, if you're a creative or you work in mysticism or spirituality or art or music or anything like that, that's Venusian, this can be a positive energy because you can be so in touch with your visions and your ideas and all of this stuff that you're, you know, like making art or making music. So it can be a time where you're feeling like very, you know, inspired, right? I think that you get a bit of a pass because you have a ton of Capricorn in your chart. So I can see that you're always like super focused on career. So I'm not really worried about you not doing that, even in the midst of a Neptune transit. I'm more concerned that there is a sense of you going like, well, should I even bother? You know, should I even put this thing out? Is it going to be worth something? Is it going to go anywhere? And I would say maybe this is going to take the form of you questioning or doubting what you are doing or whether or not you should even be pursuing a relationship, because there can be this sense with Saturn and Neptune on your ascendant, especially Saturn getting ready to hit your moon. That's like, it's very priestly, or there's this sense of being like, it's easier for me to be alone, you know, and you can kind of shut yourself off to other people, and you can see it as, you know, it's just much easier for your peace of mind, you know, have your own time and not have to worry about a relationship or to be kind of keeping you away from other people. So I'm more worried that it's going to go in the other direction. That's going to be like all work, no play. It's easier to do this rather than open myself up, right? And the moon rules your 5th house. So it can mean that you're feeling that you're being kept from love or kept from romance, because Saturn will limit something. But really, I think it's going to be a test, both of your creative limits and also of your romantic limits, trying to ask you like, okay, what do you do with this time alone? If you're feeling stuck or isolated or alone, what do you do with that time? I would really recommend, because you have Venus at a 27, to start like writing letters to somebody before you meet them, and start like talking to them and kind of connecting with them in like an etheric space. Or maybe you're meditating, or like I said, writing notes and letters to them, anticipating that they're going to come. Because when Saturn leaves your moon, it might leave you a gift, and it might actually bring you somebody who you can have a really strong kind of connection with. Obviously, rose-colored glasses, though, with Venus square, with Neptune and Venus in a square. So you really want to kind of like suss everybody out who's kind of coming in. And as Neptune sits on your ascendant, there can be this sense of not realizing or recognizing that you're kind of avoiding other people, right? So that could be happening as well. Okay, cool. YouTube wants to shut down on me. That's fine. So there can be a sense of you not being aware that that's, you know, something that you're doing. Sorry, guys. My iPad is like possessed today. I don't know what's going on. So take note of like where maybe you're going after or, you know, chasing people or like into people who are really into you, and you're like, oh, that's weird. I don't like that. And you're like, you know, kind of hiding away from people and making yourself like unavailable, if that makes sense. What else? And then also your descendant at a 26 ruled by Mercury means that the person that you meet, you may meet them somehow through work, in a work relationship. So I'm not saying like you have to meet this person through work, but they could be a client. It could be somebody that's introduced to you through somebody at work. It could be somebody who you work with. And if you work independently, it could be somebody who like, you know, seeks your services, and then somehow you develop a relationship, because Mercury, the 7th house ruler, is in the 10th. It's at a 7. So you will meet them in some way professionally. So I'm not worried about you working and not meeting somebody. I think that work and your career and your relationships are very much intertwined, personally. Hopefully that kind of answers your question. But yeah, maybe go and learn about Saturn and Neptune crossing your ascendant. You know, I'm going to tell you that you have to kind of find that balance and start observing when the moon goes through Pisces, you know, how you're feeling when it hits Saturn versus how you're feeling when it hits Neptune. Because Saturn's more about commitment, Neptune is more about kind of like letting go, you know. Hopefully that's helpful in giving you some insight. I bet that Mercury retrograde was pretty powerful for you. It looks like you did a lot of work on making some business plans or getting some things in order professionally, some of your professional goals. You had a new moon right around your birthday, so happy and belated. Let's see. So we have Fiorella I always wonder if I'm pronouncing your name right. Sorry. Let me pull up your chart here. Thanks, Katie. All right, so she says October 3rd, 94, 6:30 a.m. All right, what would it take for me to start a successful business? I want to start a fashion brand business in Australia this year. I'm currently design for Mikshi in Australia. Okay, cool. Well, let's take a look. I love this question for your chart right now. Big time. Number one, I love getting people when they're in their Saturn's return because it's usually like a pretty big turning point for them in terms of like kind of growing up. So I don't know if you know what that means, but whenever you hit 29 to about 30, you go through what we call your Saturn's return. And this is where Saturn comes back to the place where it was when you were born. So it's like this kind of karmic coming of age transit. You're a Libra rising, Libra sun, very creative. I can see that. You do some of your best work alone. And you're having your Saturn return in the sign of Pisces. So there's a couple things that I can see here that I'll just kind of mention. So let me know if any of this rings a bell. One is, Saturn is technically in your 5th house, which can be about self-employment, your own projects, your own business, your own creative endeavors. So part of your Saturn return might quite literally be about you figuring out how you can start your own business. 2, from a Libra rising whole sign perspective, Saturn in the 6th house can be about having challenges, being able to maintain a positive work environment, getting along with people at work. You could have some issues with your scheduling or with some of your coworkers. This can also be health related. Point blank, Saturn in Pisces going into your 6th house is going to be about time management. So one of the best things that I can recommend is really start taking a look at how much time you're spending doing things. How much time are you spending commuting on your job? How much time are you spending doom scrolling or on social media? How much time are you sleeping in? And start finding ways that you can start creating more time for building what it is that you want to build, and being aware of like where you're losing time and you're not even aware that you're losing time. That is very valuable. 2 is when you have a big transit to your moon, you'll see some kind of breakthrough in regards to your career. 33 is like that magic year. Okay, so when you're 30, which it looks like you're going to be later this year, that's more of a turning point for relationships ruled by Mars. So it can be good for personal relationships, but your Mars is in the 10th. So it might mean that you start taking on clients this next year privately, or people who you're working with, or maybe you have people who are hiring you for stuff. You might take on a business partnership and start something as well. So your kind of brink of that expansion might actually start this year. And then by the time you're 33, you'll have your 10th house annual perfection year, and things kind of come full circle. So I think about 2025, Jupiter is going to go into your 10th house as well. So 2025, 2026, I see some big stuff coming, but it may be built off of what you decide to build this year. And the biggest challenge you're going to have literally is, well, how do I find time to do all of the things that I need to do? Saturn in the 6th house is, I have work to do, I have stuff around the house, I have things to take care of, I have my health to manage. And Saturn's going to start opposing the moon in Chiron, and it's going to show you where there can be some habits personally or professionally that are not conducive to you, having better health or being able to do the job that you want to do. So a lot of it comes down to timing, right? 2 is Jupiter rules your 3rd house of online business. It can also be about consulting, and it's going to start opposing your Venus and your Pluto. So starting an online business, I think, could be very doable in this next year. It might be something that you're building on for the next year or 2, but I definitely think you have the chops to do it. It's that Pluto is in opposition to your Mars. And to me, it seems like there's some fear around quitting your job or scaling back at your work for financial reasons. Mars rules your 2nd house of money. And you're very money motivated because you have Mars trine your Jupiter, your Venus, and your Pluto. You're here to make your own money. Okay, that's the one thing I will tell you with the North Node in your 2nd house. And anytime you see like Pluto in aspect to Venus or Jupiter, like somebody can make a lot of it. So you're here with this stellium in your 2nd house to produce and to create your own thing. But it may come from reusing or recycling things, or getting investments, or getting business loans. So I kind of feel inclined to tell you I'm more concerned about you spending a long period of time making money for other people, right? A lot of this lifetime is learning how to do it yourself and overcoming the fear of stepping away from something that's secure and doing your own thing. Time will tell, over the next year, Pluto's going to oppose Mars. So I don't really feel like you're willing to quit, and I'm not encouraging you to, but if you start this business this year, it wouldn't be bad during your Saturn return. And then probably right around the time that Jupiter's going into your 10th house and Saturn is trining it, you'll see from the end of 2024 all the way until the summer of 2025, that can be a significant turning point where you're considering, going fully into your own business. From somebody who's been there, who worked a full-time job for a year while I launched my business. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's not for the faint of heart, but there's this turning point that happens when you're like, that's the thing that I really want to do. That kind of keeps you committed to it. And if you stay with it, I think Saturn trining planets in your 10th house by 2025, I think you could probably fully make the jump to working for yourself, but it's going to be about a year in the making. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. Yeah, all those planets in the second house, stop making money for other people. Don't be giving away your good ideas. Make your own money, do it yourself. Good luck. All right, so we've got Gosti. There we go. And then we have Christine, Amanda, and Esmeralda. You guys are all on deck. She says, "Hey Candace, I'm interviewing with a company, and my question is, will I get a job offer at the salary I asked for? My birthday is June 18th, 93, and you're in Toronto. What's up?" All right, so wondering if you're going to get this job that you're interviewing. When are you interviewing? So to be honest with you, you got some good stuff going on here. You've got a stellium of planets moving into your 6th house, so it definitely looks like it's very much work involved. Sun and Pluto going into the 6th house indicates a change in pace in terms of who you're working for. Mars is then going to go at the end of January, beginning of February into your 6th house, which is also very good for work. And then you're going to see Jupiter and Uranus come into your 10th house in the spring, which is supposed to be about making more money and working in a new position suddenly. Now, you may see more of this materialize from the end of March through June, but I see it kind of happening with all these planets coming into conjunction, and it's going to be trining here. I interviewed with him on the 10th. The next interview will be on the 15th. You picked a good day to go and do this. So you've got the moon that's going to be in your 8th house, which can be good for negotiating resources with another person. And you're going to see the sun is coming into conjunction with Pluto. Personally, I feel like, I don't necessarily know you'll get any feedback from them, maybe until the moon goes into Taurus. So when the moon comes into conjunction with Jupiter and it trines the sun, so as early as the 18th. So it could be about 3 days. But I do see a job change coming, primarily because Sun's going to square Jupiter. Okay, and that's you, and this is about the relationship with where you're working. I have a feeling, though, that they may bring you in because Saturn's going into your 8th house. They may bring you in and say, look, this is what we're willing to give you. We'll meet you halfway. They may counter your offer or your request for your salary. And if they do that, just know that it's probably Saturn, but you have the opportunity to be like, look, okay, I want a 90-day trial, or, can we have a 6-month review? Because you're going to be making more money. Like as soon as Jupiter starts trining your Jupiter, by May, June, you're making more money. So it may be worth trying to negotiate with them if you really want the position, to be like, look, I'll take this salary, but I want a 90-day review to see if, you know, there can be a change, or I would like to know that I'm going to be able to make more money, you know, down the road at the end of the year, because that's going to keep happening. The more that you're looking for jobs, the more that you're applying, the more likelihood that you're going to find someone or something that is going to be willing to give you what you want because of this Jupiter trine. But also because Pluto's in your 6th house, so it wants to dramatically change something about your work and your daily routine. And to me, that just screams more resources. But once again, that's going to be like May or June. So the one that you're getting now, I could definitely see a job happening, but I think with the sextiles to Saturn, I have this feeling that they're going to say, well, we won't give you this, but we'll give you that. And you're going to have to decide if you want to kind of like negotiate personally. A lot of that's because all of these planets are in opposition to Mercury, right? And Mercury rules money in your chart. So you're going to find out that they're going to have some other ideas for what they're willing to pay you. But like I said, whether you want to make a deal with them or you're willing to keep looking for a position, you're going to be making more money in June, because that trine is going to be like awesome. You're going to start seeing that there's going to be more opportunity for you to grow moving forward, maybe because you're going to get a higher salary, and that's kind of setting the bar for where you're kind of going from here. But yeah, Jupiter and Uranus coming into your 10th house, you are definitely going to find, if it's not them, you're going to find one that is going to kind of meet your salary expectations. Hopefully that's helpful. Let me know. Come back and circle back and let me know what they offer you. I've got Christine, and then Amanda, and then Esmeralda. In regards to that, I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's going to be at least June. So I would say ask them if you could do like a 90-day preliminary, and then with the understanding that based off of your performance, you could get a review. If you can get them to agree to that, then likely in June you could see a shift for sure. Hopefully that's helpful. All right, let's pull up Christine's chart. You're welcome. Good luck. Let's see. I know Christine sent her question here. Current location, general reading for the first 6 months or finances. Okay, so basically for you, Christine, the big theme is that Saturn is crossing your ascendant, and it's going to go from 4 to about 18 or 19 degrees. So you'll have Saturn fully in your first house this year. This can be about feeling the effects of older age. This can be about getting serious about your dreams, learning how to kind of define yourself outside of your relationship with other people, being more independent and more focused on achieving your goals. You may notice also that you're just approaching things in like a much more serious like demeanor. Saturn is going to come into conjunction with your Jupiter, and Jupiter is expansive and Saturn is contracting. Okay, so when you have Saturn conjunct Jupiter, it's basically getting serious about your career, your reputation, your long-term goals, your visibility. And Saturn is still sextiling your Sun, and it's now going to come into a sextile with your Mercury and your Venus. It pays to have, connected friends or to be networking with people professionally. That's the one thing I will say there. As Saturn sits in your first house, it's important to be, maybe practicing flexibility with your body. We can get a little stiff or a little rigid. So like, yoga can be helpful. Light weightlifting can be helpful. Stretching. Because Saturn is going to kind of limit your flexibility or your optimism as it hits Jupiter. The other thing you're going to see is that there's going to be some squares between Saturn and your moon. So you're, thinking long-term about home and housing and long-term goals. Jupiter will go through there in the summer, giving you an opportunity to move or expand something about your home base. Right now, the North Node is sitting in conjunction to Chiron and Aries in your second house, which is bringing up self-esteem wounds, financial wounds, challenges revolving around resources, and what you need to work through. I will tell you that at the beginning of April, there will be an eclipse in conjunction to your Chiron, which is big. And then there's going to be a Mercury retrograde over your Chiron, which is going to represent something you need to work through that's about your personal finances and your home. Or it could be about healing matters revolving around your personal self-esteem. But that's going to be a very, 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 very important time because you're in your Chiron return. So we have this when we're in our early 50s. It's where we kind of focus on coming back to these wounds and taking all these fragmented parts of ourselves and kind of bringing it together and healing it. So you're going to be in the midst of that with your Chiron return, but then you have an eclipse and a Mercury retrograde here. It's like end of March, beginning of April. Really watch your finances, like big time, big time, big time. And the dispositor of Chiron is Mars, and you're going to have Mars conjunct Saturn. So it's like where health-related matters can impact, your ability to make money. Or, maybe you're saying to yourself with Mars conjunct Saturn, I'm working harder when it comes to my finances. I'm cutting spending, I'm cutting something out of my diet. I'm making changes. And the second house can be the throat. It can be the voice. It can be the thyroid. So there can be like health-related things that you're paying attention to that as well. I talked about this eclipse a little bit in my 2024 video, so you should go check that out. And I've also talked about it. I did a video with Lori from Lunatic Astrology. We talked about Chiron coming into conjunction with the North Node, which is happening this next month, and how that's rolling into then the things that are going to happen in the spring, and it's going to be like a health epidemic. For you, I think it's about self-esteem and finances. I don't necessarily think it's about health, but because you have some of the conjunctions in your first house, it's important to really pay attention to like maybe what you're eating and what you're consuming and the effect that it has on your physical body. Finances is ruled by Mars, and so you have Saturn that's also squaring Mars. So it's going to be about you making some real decisive decisions about, what you're going after, what your goals are in regards to your finances, and how that may impact the direction that you're taking with your professional life. You'll see Mars will come through your second house, and it'll give you an opportunity to be earning more money. That's going to be closer to the end of May through the beginning of June. And you will also start to see Jupiter oppose your Mars. And that means that you might start contemplating or considering changes that you're making on the home front, which could better your personal financial situation, right? So watch those eclipses that are going to be taking place. You're going to have an eclipse that's also going to come in Aries in the spring, in the fall. And so that's a little bit further than what you were asking, but that's important because you're a Pisces rising. So having an eclipse in your first house definitely brings up lots of changes in regards to who you are at your core. And what's interesting is that sometimes eclipses in the first house are about big personal changes or appearance changes, but it's also where you find yourself. This will square Jupiter. So I have a feeling there's a new opportunity to make some kind of change at home that's on the horizon in this next year, which could be really beneficial for you. Hopefully that's helpful. We've got Amanda, Esmeralda, Nadine, and Simone. All right, so let's pull up Amanda. All right, Amanda says, I am January 2nd, 85, 11:44 p.m. I recently moved to be closer to family and I'm working on renovating a home. Am I making the right decision when it comes to the purchase reno of this home? How do the finances look in the future? Recently, things have been tighter than they usually are. I'm glad Pluto is finally moving out of Capricorn. Well, so you recently had a Mercury retrograde, okay? So yes, I know that you are Virgo rising. You're right on the cusp. You're almost a Libra rising, so you could listen to Libra. But when Mercury retrogrades, it really impacts you pretty significantly. And Mercury actually started its retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, and it retrograded into Sagittarius. So it went from your 4th house into your 3rd house, where you personally were reevaluating or rethinking a home or living or family situation. So quite literally, you moved back, Mercury retrograde in the 4th, to be closer with family, the 4th. And you're questioning, like, you know, is it a good thing that I bought and I'm renovating this home? I'm not surprised you're renovating a home with Pluto in your 4th house. There can be a sense of making some big changes with home and property and tearing stuff up and gutting stuff. You know, I do think that it really depends on the state of the house, because I could see with Pluto in your 4th house coming into a square with Pluto, you're kind of questioning, like, did I make the right decision? Did I take a gamble? You know, am I getting in too deep with this financially? Because it's now starting to impact your financial power. For the next couple of years, you'll see Pluto in Aquarius start coming into a square with your Pluto. And quite frankly, I think that it's just about being cautious about how much you're putting into your home, how much you're spending. And it can be about getting crafty and trying to find new ways to be able to do things. If you're doing the renovation or if you're doing some of the stuff yourself, it can mean that you're kind of turning this into a hobby and you're finding ways to be able to kind of save money while you're still updating your space. Pluto will be in and out of your 4th house really for the next year. So we're going to see Pluto go into the 5th, which is about joy, creativity, and happiness. And then we're going to see Pluto retrograde back into Capricorn briefly. So it'll be fully out of your 4th house by 2025 at some point. So you have about a year to kind of work on this house and get things in order. I feel like right now with Saturn trine your Pluto, you're so deep into this situation, and Saturn's on your Mars too, that you're not moving and you're not giving the home up. It's natural to rethink a situation when Mercury is retrograde, especially when Mercury rules your chart. I'd be more concerned about, you know, being close to family if you feel like you have some difficult relationships with family members of Pluto being in the 4th house. Equally, over the next, you know, year or two, Uranus is going to come into conjunction with your moon, which can bring up some really unexpected situations with home and family. On one hand, I look at this and I go, well, to be honest with you, you may find that like the renovations and the money that you've put into your home can be making your home very, very valuable. So I could see you looking at this, and if you really wanted to get out over the summer, you would have somebody that would probably want to buy it from you, because Jupiter represents, you know, like customers or clients, and Jupiter and Venus are going to be on your moon. So if there was a time based off of your chart, I don't know if this is going to correlate with the real estate market, because we might see that real estate goes up before it really comes down. This may be the top. So if you're really like, I want to get out of Dodge, I would say, you know, mid-May could be a time where you could have enough renovations done in a home where you could be like, I want to get out from underneath this while I still can, and you could sell it, and you may actually get a lot of money for it. On the other hand, I think about Uranus hitting your moon, and this can bring a lot of, oh, I need, you know, out of my home. I don't want to be home. You know, there's a lot of turbulence and kind of like rebelling against feeling stable at home when the moon hits. When Uranus hits the moon. I don't know the reasons of why you move back to be closer with family, but I would say, like, if you've got a situation where you know you have like a aging or an older female relative in your life, Uranus hitting your moon, that can represent a transition in the family, especially because it's trining your 4th house. So I also feel like a lot of this is about maybe feeling like there's going to be some changes going on with family members and how that impacts you. And then you're like, you know, do I even want to be here? Should I be here? Am I going to be here for very long? And Uranus will be opposing Saturn in your 2nd house of personal possessions. Your chart reads very similar to a Libra rising chart. With Jupiter and Uranus meeting in the 8th house, that means you're going to have access to other people's money. You might have a partner that inherits money. You might win the lottery. You might get a big refund or a payout for something. And to me, it looks like there's a lot of resources that are coming your way. And it's going to be about you receiving versus you feeling like you're kind of stuck or tight financially. Pluto, Saturn, the South Node in Scorpio, ouch. That's some difficult karma revolving around money. But when these planets go into Taurus and they're in your 8th house and they're on your moon, you're going to start receiving stuff from other people. So this is about letting other people help you, whether this is like letting other people help you sell a home or letting other people help you finish your home, or, you know, bringing relationship in that can kind of help you and collaborate with helping you kind of feel more stable. All of these things are going to kind of happen. I would really recommend going and learning about Uranus transit your natal moon and also Uranus transit your natal north node. I'm just speculating here, but I mean, you know, having the moon in opposition to Saturn can represent some challenges in feeling like a push-pull energy with a relationship with like a mother figure or your home or your family. So as Uranus sits on your moon, suddenly there could be a dramatic change in regards to your home, your family, or your resources that kind of gets you out of that Saturn opposition, where suddenly it's like, okay, I got to be there for, you know, some of these relatives. And your moon is conjunct Algol. If I were you, I would stay away from alcohol the next couple years, because that can have a really negative impact on you psychologically and spiritually. It can create a lot of problems. You're going to see Uranus start to hit your moon in July. You'll be you're already feeling it now, but June and July, it's going to be there. And when Mars and Uranus hit your moon, it may materialize as being like, I just want to move somewhere else. I want freedom. And that's going to be end of June, beginning of July. And it's complex because it opposes your Saturn. Like, do you have a difficult relationship with your mom? Like, do you feel like you don't want to be around her, but then you are around her and you're like, oh my goodness. You have a lot of family karma with your Sun, Neptune, and Jupiter in the fourth house. Usually these people, when they get older, they return back home. They come back, right? And they kind of settle a little bit later in life, and they kind of set up their home a little bit later in life. But yeah, I think that if this were me, if you feel like you're really not sure about it, you can get your home evaluated in the spring, and you can kind of look at, and if you want to try to put it on the market, you can. But I think that would be the top, because Jupiter is there, and also with Uranus on your moon, you're going to want freedom. So, you know, don't be too quick to sell your house just because you're going through a moon Uranus transit. The best thing that you can be doing is, like, you know, getting out and doing things and having new hobbies, or maybe traveling, because Jupiter will be on your moon, to kind of give yourself a little bit of space from being home. Anyway, I hope that that's helpful to give you some more insight. Good luck. Or because of a divorce. Okay. So then with Neptune coming up on your descendant, to be honest with you, just be careful with any future potential people that are kind of coming up or coming into your life romantically. And your second quote unquote partner is your ninth house, and your moon and the north node belong to the ninth house. So you may be traveling or meeting other people in this next year, and there could be another person who can come in, but they may be culturally different, or they might be like a foreigner, right? Good luck. Hopefully that's helpful. Let's see. I've got Esmeralda. And then Nadine and Simone. Esmeralda says 6477 at 9:04 a.m. Will I be able to launch my tarot reading business? I feel something is blocking me and I'm not sure what it is. I give up and then I apply to jobs, but no one ever calls me back. I feel stuck. Sorry, English is my second language, no worries. And I'm not sure how to make the question shorter. You're good. Okay, so Esmeralda has questions about starting her tarot business. Well, I can see a couple of things. You know, usually people who read tarot, they've got like a really strong like Mercury signature, or they've got aspects maybe involving like Mercury or Neptune. And you have some of that. Uranus has been in conjunction to Mercury here for like the last year or so. So that's representing this feeling of like wanting some sense of freedom with your business, and Jupiter is about to hit that, so that can be an indication that may be starting, although I have some ideas for you in terms of how you can kind of jumpstart that business. I think because Jupiter and Uranus are moving together into your 11th house, like joining groups and associations online, or starting a group, or maybe working for another business. So You may be able to find like other online businesses that are hiring readers or psychics, and you can kind of get situated and get started by joining a larger group as you start kind of building up a clientele and getting a name for yourself. So might be worth kind of looking into who may be hiring, and you could do some work on one of those like websites and one of those apps as you kind of start to build. Or you can go and start like Facebook groups or other groups that you can be like doing like group readings in, or doing offerings or donation-based readings where you're offering readings to groups of people. That would be another way to get started. You just had this new moon in Capricorn that was on your descendant. 7th house is your marketplace, what you have to offer people, and meeting other people in Capricorn is business. Being that that new moon was right on your natal moon, which is your chart ruler, it means you're getting serious about being able to offer something to another person. So it means that you're getting ready to bring in more clients. So you're still in that new moon energy. I would say like set intentions about being like, I am serious about, you know, like working with other people, you know, having clients, or even getting hired. That new moon trined planets in the 11th house, which means I think it's setting you up to possibly bring you into an opportunity to work for another group. When I first started doing readings, I started doing readings purely just for fun because it was like my hobby and my interest. And then I started doing readings for friends. And I did readings here and there for a while until finally I was like, okay, I need a place to work from. So I really kind of like cut my teeth the first 3 or 4 years actually working for another company. I went and worked for like a local business that, you know, did readings out of a physical location. Then I went to go and I did readings for Astrology for I think like 2 years. And then I started, you know, kind of doing my own clients and seeing people full time on my own. So a lot of people, I think, who do this work will collaborate and they'll work with other people as they're kind of starting to kind of get their sea legs before finally kind of like venturing off and doing their own thing. So I think with like the Jupiter transit in your 11th house, bringing in new friends or new community or new people, and then you're going to have your Jupiter return this year. It makes me feel like you're going to be like, okay, I'm doing something with a group of people, but I also have private stuff. And it might be worth like looking into starting a business where you're like, I do general readings, but if you want to subscribe, you're going to get an expanded reading and you have to pay for that. Because Gemini is duality, so it represents 2. So it means that you might have your business and you're working for another business, or maybe you have videos, but then you have expanded content for people who want to pay for it. And stuff that's going to be a little bit more private because that Sun, Jupiter belongs to the 12th. But you got a double dose of energy of manifesting, which may really start to unfold in about 6 months' time. Now, to take it a step further, you're going to have an eclipse on your midheaven that'll be at the beginning of April with Chiron, which means you're really confronting and combating all of these wounds revolving around work and your career. And maybe you're feeling like you want to come into this period where you're initiating something new. Especially by about April, from a financial standpoint, you're like, okay, I'm really wanting to make money. And Mars and Saturn is kind of feeling limited. So you can't go out and be doing readings and not getting paid, right? There's a sense of really needing to know your value if you're going to be exchanging and having a set rate. Otherwise, if you're like, oh, pay me what you think I'm worth, you're going to have some issues getting, you know, paid what you want to get paid for the amount of energy that you're expelling and that you're putting out there. I think between an eclipse on your midheaven, which will take about a year to fully unfold, you know, Jupiter return, which is basically saying from about, you know, April through June, July, you know, you're having an opportunity to meet with more people and bring in more resources. After all, Jupiter, you know, transiting your sun will also bring more money. And I think of the 12th house, and where, you know, planets are going into the 12th house, this is about your processor. This is about your payment system, believe it or not, international payment. So it's important to make sure that, you know, you've got a way of taking payments for people internationally. So I would say you're probably going to go look into like Square or PayPal or something that is going to allow you to do business with people online, right? And as you have Chiron come into your 10th house, your Chiron is natally there. So you're not old enough to have your Chiron return yet, but you know, Chiron going into the 10th house is embracing these wounds revolving around being like, well, what am I supposed to be doing work-wise? You know, what is my purpose? And in Aries, it's like having to do it on your own. So one of the ways of healing that is about embracing becoming a healer, or embracing this path of being like, okay, I'm going to take this and make lemonade, right? And I'm going to go and do my own thing. Anyway, I think it's positive. I would work with the new moon and look for more opportunities for growth April through June. Go and get active and be starting groups or be talking to people or maybe offering services online and collaborating with other people. And I think that that might be the way forward. Hopefully that's helpful for you. I've got Nadine. I know some of you guys have been waiting for a while. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Okay, so I've got Nadine here, October 15th, 94, 9:40 a.m. I just started a YouTube channel 2 weeks ago and I want to do YouTube full time. Can I get a general reading on my YouTube path? You're welcome, Esmeralda. I appreciate it. What kind of YouTubing are you doing? A funny story, when my husband and I moved into our new place, we were talking to our realtor and he was like saying like, oh, what do you guys do? And we're like, oh, we make videos. And he's like, what kind of videos? And we're like, oh, we're YouTubers, you know? And he's like, oh, my son's trying to be a YouTuber. And I kind of like looked at him like, better start early. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication to make YouTube successful. It is not easy. But if you're looking to start a YouTube business or a channel, I wonder if you use the astrology to do this. So you're a Scorpio rising and you just had a new moon that was right on top of your natal Neptune Uranus, which is about money-making opportunities. And it's on the cusp of your third house, which is about, you know, being online. Okay, so great time to have started this. It's about case studies about reality TV personalities. I love it. Gotta love that Pluto rising, right? You have a really good bullshit detecting chart. And good for research too. Anyway, so for you to have, you know, this new moon that's in your second house of making money connected to your third house of online businesses, I think it's a wonderful time. I love people who have Pluto on an angle for being able to go deep and like talk about information and be exposing things and bringing things up. I look at Jupiter and Uranus coming into your seventh house, starting to oppose your Pluto, where you could actually, you know, you could bring in an audience. You could bring people in who are suddenly going to be interested in what you have to say or what you think or what you're kind of, investigating, I guess is the word I would use. Mercury rules your 10th house of career, and you're going to be seeing that over the next couple of years, Pluto is starting to come into a square with your Mercury. Right now, Saturn's trining it. I really think the beauty of this is that you're like, look, I can do something where I can work from home. Very Saturn moon on the nadir. I don't know if that was part of the appeal, but I can see that. I also think for like Libras, you know, Pluto going into Aquarius is supposed to be about this opportunity for like real creative self-expression and doing something very different than what you've done before and like kind of doing something off the wall, and it's a bit oddball-y. So as Pluto goes into your third house, where it's opening up the opportunity for you to have a new way of communicating and connecting with people, you've also got, you know, this kind of supporting Libra by sign. And I think it's about really highlighting some of your own personal private interests or things that you're like looking into. So maybe, you know, with all that Scorpio, you're like, are they who they say they are? You know, like, let's really get into the core of who these people are and what they do in their private lives and like all of that stuff. And you gotta love a Saturn transit. You've got another person with a Saturn return that's like, yes, I wanna do my own thing. I wanna be my own boss. Saturn conjunct the moon is interesting because the moon is intercepted in your chart. So it's like you taking a chance being like, you know, I'm gonna risk it and I'm gonna kind of go in the direction of where I wanna go and hope that it's gonna make money. You have to follow your North Node with this chart because you have so many damn planets conjunct the North Node. And I think with Venus and Mercury, it could literally be about people's private personalities and like kind of doing a whole profile on them. And it can be good or bad, right? Especially like particular like women out in the media because you've got that Venus-Jupiter North Node. It can also be about their private lives. That could be something else that you're kind of bringing up. I don't know. I like it. I think that there's a lot of opportunity here, and I think that you're not really afraid to kind of push the envelope with Mercury square Mars. And as Pluto is starting to come into an opposition with Mars, you're seeing an opportunity to be able to like call certain people out on their bullshit and really maybe make a bit of a name for yourself, because you're going to be making some statements about people and things, but you're going to have like all of the information and the background to be able to kind of back up what you have to say. I think it's a good idea. I really do think it's a good idea. I would just say that you want to be mindful as Pluto is starting to come into a square with Mercury of really disclosing all of the information and the sources and where you got things and stuff like that, because you're going to have some people that are going to kind of challenge you because you're going to have Pluto opposed Mars square Mercury. So if you're getting, background information, private information, sources and things like that, you're going to want to really make sure that you're vetting all the information and that it's very factual. So you're not getting yourself into some hot water for some stuff that's being said on the internet, right? But yeah, I like it. I definitely like it. I think that for you, right now you're in a 6th house year until you have your birthday in October. And that 6th house where you're having eclipses in your whole sign, and it's kind of like being like, okay, what do I need to be working on and doing? What am I initiating? It feels a little funky for all that Scorpio, but I think it's a great way for you to be able to be like, look, this is something I already like to do, so why not make it a business and turn it into something that you really can put all that good Scorpio research skills into, to be able to kind of wake people up. Right? That's what Mercury and Scorpio likes to do. It likes to wake people up. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. Let us know your channel. Shout it out, and I'll go and take a look at it. What you said you're doing studies on reality TV personality. So basically, a bunch of psychos, right? Oh boy. Yeah, I would love to see that. I'm trying to think of like what, I don't really watch reality shows very much anymore, but I guess it could be all of the drama with like all of these new, I think of like, what's something that happened recently? I think they said somebody from one of those dating shows. What is that MTV dating show? Not MTV, the Netflix dating show where they're all in the pods. Supposedly there's some drama of like one of them like suing Netflix, right? They're suing Netflix over like setting her up with like what she calls a red flag. I guess that could be like reality drama. I don't watch enough of that stuff to know. I come from like the Jersey Shore days. I'm kind of like getting old. Anyway, I'll check out your page. Good luck with your YouTube endeavors. All right, and last but not least, we have Simone. If she's still here. All right, so we've got Simone, January 11th, 87. And she says, can I have a birthday reading? Well, hi, new moon on your ascendant and also on your birthday. That's kind of a big deal. I'm going to assume you know that. Can you see it? Uh-oh, we lost the chart. Sorry guys, hold on. Hopefully we can get this back on. Is Simone here? Let's see. Will that make a difference? Sorry, guys. Mercury's pulling tricks. Can we please get Mercury back into Capricorn? That would be great. All right, well, Simone, you can't see your chart, so I apologize. For some reason, my software is being kind of wonky, but I will give you your reading regardless. So you've got a Capricorn sun and a Capricorn rising and Mercury in Capricorn all in conjunction. So you had a new moon on your birthday. You know, when I see a new moon on the ascendant, it's about an opportunity to completely have a fresh start. When you have a new moon on your birthday, that's about when it comes to your personal goals, maybe your career, where you're going for the next year. And it's in conjunction to Mercury. So really it's a time where it's like anything goes. Whatever you put your mind to, whatever you're thinking about making happen this year, that's the direction that things are going in. I'm also aware that you're moving into an annual perfection year 2. So this is going to be a year where you're going to want to pay attention to Saturn. Saturn is going to be your time lord. Saturn is moving through your whole sign 3rd house, which is about communication, learning, talking about money, resources, and things in regards to, education. Usually when I see a Saturn like 2nd house year, it means that you're investing more in yourself, or you're investing more in your values. Like you're really thinking about what it is that you value, what you want the most. And your natal Saturn is connected to your whole sign 12th house, which can be about letting some things go that you no longer value. There can be some changes in your belief system this year, which makes perfect sense with like a new moon technically like right along your ascendant in conjunction to planets in the 12th house. I'm wondering, did you feel like there was like this weird kind of like eclipse effect that you had the days or like the week leading up to your birthday, where like there was a lot of stuff that you were like, I'm just doing away with this, or I'm just flushing things out? Because that's kind of the feeling that I get looking at your chart. I also can see that in this next year, you're going to have Saturn coming into conjunction with Jupiter. And so, Saturn is about seriousness, commitment, limitation, responsibility. And the fact that it's going to hit Jupiter in your 2nd house means that you're going to be more responsible with your finances, and you're going to be more aware of like what you do and do not need to be spending money on. Eclipses in your 3rd going into your 4th house while Pluto is still squaring. So you're personally in a position of change, which is impacting your relationship with your career as it squares your 29-degree midheaven and 29-degree 4th house. Look for changes with home, family, and living situation, which may arise around April of 2024. I also want you to be paying attention to that retrograde then, because there will be a retrograde that will be taking place at the same time. You are also in your nodal return, which is going to be really kind of kicking in next month. So that North Node in Aries is about being courageous, strong, being the first, independent, and it's in your 3rd house. So it can represent learning something new. It can represent new vehicles, traveling. So those eclipses may prompt traveling or changes with your home base. Something like that can kind of be happening in March and April. But the nodal return only happens every like 18 and a half years. And what's interesting is that when you had your birthday, that new moon represented being like, okay, I need to make some kind of a shift to be able to come further into my destiny. So worst case scenario, it's a move. Best case scenario, there's a shift in your thinking, a shift in your communication. Maybe you feel like you need to be more active. Maybe you're walking more, you're training more, you're writing more. The 3rd house is kind of like a junk drawer. So it could be, movement, traveling, communication, siblings. But Mars leading the way makes me feel like it's about you initiating, being like, I got to get out of the house. I got to travel. I got to move. I got to learn something. And I think that's all going to kind of get activated this year through the eclipses. Watch for money and resources this year, though, because you're in a Saturn year, and I think that you're going to see probably some of the most important things happening financially when Mars and Venus and Pluto come into your 2nd house. So whole sign wise, this will be from February 4th through, I would say, about mid-March. It's a really big period for you financially. Mars and Venus are moving into your second house, because that means that you're investing more in yourself, and also big changes with your values and your resources. And Mars and Venus will like kiss actually for a couple days in your second house, which could represent like bringing in some kind of chunk of change and being able to spend it on something that you've been wanting, that can bring you more joy, creativity, pleasure, more fun time as well. So if you're looking to like, you know, maybe book a trip or do something, that could be a fun time to do it. And then you're going to have Jupiter that's going to go into Gemini. So it's going to go into your 5th house, expanding opportunity for relationships and fun, dating, younger people. This can be like a kind of a pregnancy transit, also Jupiter in the 5th house and Jupiter hitting your moon. And your moon is at 10. So it can be the responsibility of creative projects, creative endeavors, side hustles. But it could also be about transit, but it can also be meeting somebody who you could have a significant commitment to for some time. And if you're in an existing relationship, it can get sweeter, and some kind of, you know, connection where maybe you guys are talking about traveling together, moving together, living together. I think we've heard this for a lot of Capricorns, Capricorn and Capricorn rising, you know, like, you know, Jupiter and Uranus meeting in Taurus is about some like love affair, love story that's going on. Look at what's going on with Taylor Swift right now. She's got a Capricorn rising, and everybody's seeing her with this new relationship, and they're like, oh, she's moved in with somebody. They're talking about getting married and having kids and stuff. It's because this conjunction is building in her 5th house. So I'm not saying you're Taylor Swift. Maybe you are. I don't know. But you have some of the same transits that's about some real exciting, creative, beautiful, expressive transit that's kind of manifesting. And so that's going to start hitting for you in the spring. And I love when you have your 2nd nodal return, because you have it right around the time that you have a Jupiter transit as well. So your Jupiter transit just finished up, and you've got eclipses that are going to be starting on your Jupiter. So this is about investing more in the things that make you happy and bring you joy. And really consider this birthday a complete fresh start. So whatever you have initiated as of this particular new moon, you're going to see the summer in 2024, but those 2 full moons that you're going to have on your ascendant and also in your 4th house, that there is something new that's emerging. I think it's going to be like a new and improved version of you. And so the key, I think, with that is about reinvesting in yourself all year long. Hopefully that's helpful. I'll give you some food for thought, because that's such a powerful thing to have a new moon with your sun and your ascendant. Write down all of the things that you're wanting to manifest this year. That's the best advice I can give you. Hopefully that's helpful, and happy belated. Thanks for checking in with me. If you guys liked this content, give me a thumbs up or give me a heart. I appreciate it. It lets everybody know that we were live. You can catch me here every Friday night. I'm here at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So if I missed you, I'll be back next week. We're going to be doing live tarot readings. Do consider subscribing to my channel so you're alerted as to when I have videos coming out. We're going to be talking all about, you know, Pluto's conjunction with the sun this week on this week's astro weather. I put out a video on Pluto in Aquarius. There's a few of them actually. And don't forget to check out my 2024 New Year's Day webinar. I put it out for you guys. You can watch it if you want to see what I think about this next year. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will see all of you guys back here very soon. Take care.